addressing the conflict in DRC, which has so far left hundreds dead and millions displaced. The UK directed the two presidents to engage the leaders currently picked to lead the merged Nairobi and Luanda peace processes with the pure intention of ending hostilities. This comes hours after the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community appointed former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo and former Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn as joint facilitators of the process. That's the news wire. I'm Leah Umaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Running a business in Kenya and struggling with slow, expensive cross-border payments? With Verto, you can send and receive money globally, faster, cheaper, and hassle-free. Pay suppliers, collect payments, and expand internationally with ease. 49 currencies, 190 plus countries. One powerful platform, better rates, faster settlements, secure transactions, global payments made easy. Sign up today at www.vertofx.com. Verto, your global business payments partner.
Some days just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments. Just moments. Maybe even a few Because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delare.
Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delare real fruit yogurt. Indulge in the moment.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's the 26th of February. It would appear as though I have a frog in my throat. Let's see if we can get unwanted animals out. 26th of February and 7 minutes after 6 o'clock on this Wednesday. It is hump day, getting into and proper the last part of the week. And here we are, this chilly, warmish kind of something morning. And here we are. Anki, good morning.
Good morning, Dew. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
You had
Is
a
it
good day?
warmish, coldish?
Well, it's something.
It's something, yeah.
That's for sure.
I think it's warmish for me. But I slept well. It's a good day. I'm excited for the day. The conversations lined up today as well. It's good to see CT as well. I can't wait to hear the proverb of the day and how the conversations will flow.
City, good morning.
Hi.
I know.
How are you too?
Hola.
Yes,
Very
you're
good.
Yes.
Hola is who?
Wait. Hola is hi.
Okay, in which language?
Is it Española?
It's in Spanish, yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Hola.
Hola.
Yeah.
Okay, hola to you.
Hey, God in heaven. Uko salama lakini?
Salama Salmini.
Salmini.
Yes.
Good. Where?
I am well.
I'm happy to hear it, and it's good to see you. It's going to be an interesting one, so buckle up and let's see what happens through today. Number of conversations that we will have. Okay, so things seem to be burning, right, as concerns the Shah crisis, and it's already being called a crisis. It could escalate into something else. We're going to be having a conversation with the Senior Deputy Director of Health at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sultani Mtandachero, and we want to look at exactly what's going on. No pay, no health. Where are we with that? So it's a conversation that we will have at 7 o'clock. It's already a touchy issue, very, very touchy. And if we just look at some of the headlines today, we can already tell that it's going to be quite sticky. So we'll have that conversation and we'll look at, all right, so, okay, the impact of federal funding freeze. What's happening with this exactly? That's the conversation that we will have at 7 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, we shall talk, and we'll talk with you. We'll open up the phone lines and we'll have quite some engagement with you, and we'll do that at 8 o'clock, and we'll let you know as we have that conversation. Jeremiah Karanja is the CEO of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, and that's a conversation. That's actually who will be in the studio at 9 o'clock for us to have a conversation about renewing morals, securing the future, ethical leadership and good governance, restoring trust, renewing morals and securing the future. So that conversation comes in for us at 9 o'clock. So that's the lineup that we have for this morning, and already seeing you all clicking in as we have that conversation today of conversations that must be had, setting the agenda, comforting the afflicted and afflicting the comfortable. And so it's Kenya's biggest conversation. We're getting into it this morning proper. So we're going to say hello to you because we can see you getting in on our live streams are up. YouTube is already a buzzing as it is on Facebook and on X, and soon to join our audience on KTN. So even as we do that, we'll say hi to you. Tell us where you're clicking in from this morning, and tell us, how your morning is so far, and let's get into the conversation today. Before we do that, I have lemon and biscuit. This is my grab go-to breakfast. It's an moment with Delare yogurt today, and I'm going to urge you to grab one. It does a thing for you, getting you into starting your day. What do you have, Anki?
Same.
You have lemon, you see?
Yes.
Copy.
No.
It's good.
But aren't you someone to emulate? I mean, you are the greatest. I would copy you any day.
Ish. Have you heard?
I've heard.
Thank you very much.
I have actually heard.
But actually, real lemon, you can taste the lemon, and you can taste the biscuit in the lemon and biscuit. You can actually also chew on the little bits of strawberry if you had that. And the wild berry, which has raspberries, it's got that red, it's got blueberries, and it's called blackberries. And which one? The strawberry, it's got real pits. And then there's the orange and apricot and honey. Great stuff. And pear and caramel. Really?
How come you're not asking me what I have?
Yeah.
I was about to ask
He
you.
was looking at you like,
I'm actually waiting.
Okay.
He was waiting.
Okay.
So what do you have, CT?
Well, no, now that you ask, I have yogurt with real lemon biscuit.
See?
Meaning there's lemon and then there's biscuit.
Inside the yogurt.
Yes, exactly. Inside the yogurt.
Fantastic
Yes.
stuff. And I'm going to have a dollop of that in just a minute. Really is your breakfast on the go. And so enjoy your moments with Delare yogurt, where you can get in many outlets. Oh, you see?
Yes.
Many outlets around the country, and we'll be going into that today. Sawa.
Yes.
Wacha tusalimia watu. Don't forget, guys, that you need to tell us where you're clicking in from. And if it's your first time of clicking into the Situation Room this morning, let us know that as well. Okay, so do I want to say hi? Yes, I do. If I can get my gadget to operate. Sometimes it likes giving me problems. Okay. Just wants to be difficult sometimes. Okay, here we are. Okay, so people are in. Yes, they are. And saying a good morning to you as we get into it this morning. There's so many people. Is it an assist or liability to marry a second or third wife? This is how you've woken up this morning.
He's been thinking through it maybe through the night.
Assist to whom?
City could help there.
Is it assist or liability to marry a second or third wife? Why can you help, City?
Wisdom.
Marry a second or third wife.
Third wife.
Is it an assist or a liability?
There are people who have a problem marrying even one. So, you know, by the time you're going to these additionals and extras, surely. Start with one first. One. There are people who can't even acquire a girlfriend. So this thing is a bit complex.
It is.
Yes, it is complex.
Okay. So don't worry, we'll come back to you on that and figure it out. Good morning, SpiceFM family, says Cyprian Kambuni. Chris Morris tuned in this morning and says, good morning, Spice people. Ndu, CT and Anki. How are you?
Very
this
well.
is Don Sabwa. Ndu, ask CT, when last did Harambee Stars play any match?
Last year.
Okay. Play in Malawi, we say Sewerani. CT, say Sewerani.
When did Harambee Stars last Sererani?
Thank you. Sewerani. When did they last Sewerani?
Is that the meaning of Serani?
Sewerani.
Sewerani.
To play.
Oh, nice. Wisdom.
Good morning, Team Spice, says Onganyi Malala. Edward Yongo is tuned in this morning. And tuning in from Colchester in the UK, Rahimtullah Omar says good morning. Desmond Otis says, the tender person who was given the job as Sunshine has done his best. Let them pay him to the fullest. Sunshine?
Okay.
Blue skies.
Next.
Please go away.
Okay.
The girl has found another and is here to stay. Anyway, there's a song.
I know.
Is that a song?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Ndu City and the Brown Soft Akinyi.
Okay.
Are you soft? But I don't at all. All the adjectives that he has used to describe you this morning, you have to ask yourself if na you.
Wow.
Vincent Macau, good morning, Spice team. Tune in from Mombasa is Robert Mboko. Good morning, Michael Olande said. Ask CT if he visited and stuff. CT, people want to know.
No, I did say that I would announce the day I'm taking off because I need a day off. I'm not going to do this in the middle of the day.
Voila.
No.
Okay.
It's a day. I'll take a whole day. So at 8 o'clock when they open the doors, I am there.
NSSF?
Yes.
Okay.
So they owe him money. And it is also in our interest because it's part of the lunch. Hey. Rose Grace,
Right.
She's tuned in from Tamu. She's been away for a while. Yes, we know you have been away. Are you all right? And then she goes on to say, I've been bereaved. Oh, Polisana. Polisana Rose.
That's
And
my village mate.
Oh yeah, village mate. I hope all is well now, and may those who departed continue to rest in peace. Zachariah says, good morning. Let's pray for the Pope. Actually, yeah, in critical condition. He's been diagnosed with pneumonia in both lungs and was admitted about 36 hours ago. And it's all a watch and see kind of thing in terms of what's going to happen. He's been ailing for a while, but now to be admitted in this critical state is quite something. So, eyes are there. And so let's pray for him. Chas Okoh says, good morning. Tuned in. Chas Okoh, rather, is tuned in and says, greetings from Nairobi. Hello, Princess Ndu. Good morning, Leo, CT, and Dorice. Concerning textbooks in the school. Okay, so Leo's still on this matter.
Oh, yes.
And he says that actually it is true. The headmaster of the school confirmed that the last time they got textbooks was when Uhuru Kenyatta was president.
Which school is this?
In fact, now you must tell us the name
tell
of
us
the
the
school.
Yes.
Tell us the name of the school, because you say that it's more than 7 years since the school got government textbooks.
7 years.
7.
Since the school got government textbooks, whether it's factual or not, parents have to buy books. Okay,
whether it's factual or not. Again, he put that in the statement.
So there's the parents buying books. You see,
whether the school
first
exactly
of all, which books do the parents buy?
Yeah.
Yes.
We need to know more information. I'm actually interested to know which school this is that we are talking about, Leo. So if you can give us some more information, it would be great. Right? Good morning, Mwali Musiti, Sister Ndu, and Sister Anki, and the entire Spice team. Ednah Umesalimiwa.
Mwalimu.
That's very good.
Mwalimu.
Yeah, of course. I just not had anyone call you that in a while.
JB Mutua is greeting us from Jersey. Our country is getting worse by the day. How do we use garbage as a means of debt collection? Where? I'm telling you. That's still funny. That was great. Okay, not great in that sense.
Look,
but anyway,
come on. When you have people showing you how to be mature about a situation, you must appreciate it. Unaongea matope. Okay, let's send you some.
Watch it to me and matope.
The real garbage.
Good morning from a chilly Doha. Please, what you people in Doha say is chilly, please be helping us with the numbers so that we can be understanding how this chilly something is. Right? You've told us how elections are very expensive, so IEBC needs 67 billion shillings. Well,
61 billion.
Nope.
I'm 67.
If it is above, if it is even, first of all, if it's in the billions, it's plenty. I don't know if
it is in billions.
What I wonder though about these things, when we buy equipment to conduct whatever it is we are conducting, whenever we are conducting, ballot papers, I know we need to get new ones.
But does the equipment finish?
And that's what I'm wondering. Kwani, these things you use for registering, do they only have a lifespan of that period of that election?
Maintenance issues are second hand.
No, do you remember when that equipment was coming and the late Chebukati and his team kept telling us that the equipment is coming?
Yeah.
Do you think you will bring all that? Yes, now. It came.
We follow these things.
It came.
By the way, around the issue of the IEBC, the election equipment, there's always a scandal. Let me underline and circle it in red. Always.
Sasa, Let me just continue because there are many people and it would be nice to mention all of you, isn't it?
Yes.
Bethwell says, good morning, good people tuned in from Geshe Ndu, who might be lying between the government and the doctors concerning Shifosha. Look, private hospitals are not lying that they haven't received money. Come on. We are not there. So, if you're asking one or two, it's not the private
There's
hospitals.
money that they received, but the issue here is there was an understanding as to how they should receive money. That hasn't happened.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's where we are with that. We're going to find out more as we talk to Dr. Mtantachero at 7 o'clock. We'll find out more about that. Joe Muga is tuning from Bonny Lake. Has Nairobi county governor issued an apology to Kenyans following the hooliganism of his garbage troop? Well, people are calling for his arrest. We'll tell you stories about that later. Listening to you from Den Haag. Good morning. Good morning as well, CT Ndu and Anki. Another beautiful day, says Samuel Wanje. School of Life is greeting us this morning. And also, good morning, CT Ndu and Anki tuned in. This is Hesbon Sidon. Good morning. I thought SHA is a percentage based. Is 50k a percentage? How many donation after the percentage? Well, KK, we're going to look into that more today. Good morning, enjoying your morning show. Jose Mahinda. Good morning to you. Fred Peters tuning from Nairobi. Many blessings and a great day. Good morning, everybody. To Ednah too, we cannot forget you. Agesa Belcher says, looking forward to great discussions today. Habari live from Michigan in the USA. I love it that people are going to bed and listening to us this morning. It's great. I'm Jambo Bwana SpiceFM.
At a Jambo.
Mono activist killers were paid 8,000 bob. When that mother and wife were crying about the loss of their husband and son. And the court said, well, KWS doesn't have a case to answer. Look for him somewhere else. And then he turns up floating on the river 2 weeks later. Somebody's got a case to answer.
Right.
Kindly, people are still asking if CT went to NSSF. Please, for the last time, when CT is going to NSSF, he will tell you. Then when he comes back, he will also do what?
Tell you.
Thank you, please. But we see you, Vids. Good morning. Garissa County is kicking. Greetings from Milton Keynes, and that's in the UK, of course. Good morning, people watching from Doha. Good morning, good morning. And Angor, beautiful lady, we see you. Tunakupenda pia. Good morning, Carol pia tuna unapendwa. Georgia Koth is greeting everybody. Kenya ni nchi ya ajabu. The debt collection has reached a very high level of disintegrity. Watching from Miami in Florida. And Sammy Kyoko is tuned in this morning to the Situation Room. Clicking in, guys, and keep clicking in this morning as we get into those conversations. Thank you for being our companion as we do. All right, let's look into today's proverb, CT, shall we?
Yes, good plan that. Good, very, very, in fact, very, very good plan that. Here, Proverbs, here we come. We are in the Republic of Mali. The capital of Mali is what? Not you.
Oh, not me. Okay.
I don't know.
Starts with the B. And it's not Ombaso.
Did you just say it's not Bombasa?
Yes.
Can I
don't know.
Go ahead.
Bamako.
It is Bamako.
I have learned. Let me note it down.
There's a book I advise people to read. It's called God's Bits of Wood with Samben Osman. That book tells you the history of this region in a way that very few things can. In a narrative style, in a story like story around a railway line. It is worth reading. Right. 13 national languages.
Yeah.
That is what? Yeah, 13. Forget this thing of 1, 2, 3. 13. Yes, just in case you thought. 95% of the people in Mali are of the Islamic faith.
You know, people might think that when you say 13, that you're talking about all the languages existent in Mali.
No.
This is the official language.
Yes, you can speak 13. These are people who understand pluralism, okay, and inclusivity.
We have smart audience.
This is what they understand. Okay, they are under what you call, it's a unitary presidential republic under a military junta. Okay, this is unique. Note, unitary presidential republic under a military junta.
I'm telling you.
Okay? Nice combo, that one. Very, very good. Now, this particular proverb I find very, very interesting. The kitchen is older than the mosque.
Sorry?
The kitchen is older than the mosque.
Which mosque?
What do you mean, which mosque?
No, the other mosques that might be older than the kitchen.
No.
Okay.
No. That is where now the interpretation comes in.
This is where we go into symbolism.
Yes.
So, I'm going to go direct. That usually you're going to take care of your physiological needs before you do your spiritual ones.
Interesting.
Your stomach must be full, and you need to look for the daily bread before you think about
People
what
have
you
been
believe.
looking after the daily bread long before the advent of religion ever
Or who
actually reared its head.
Yeah.
Okay.
You worship your stomach before
Or
you worship
formal
somebody else.
religious entities. Before that, people were busy looking after their stomachs.
That's
so
why
to speak.
fasting is a sacrifice. You sacrifice the meals and dedicate your time to spirituality and build your spiritual strength.
That's how it works.
No, I believe when you keep away from food and pray over something, you deny yourself of the stomach.
In this country, when you keep away from food, it means you're poor and you can't get food. It's nothing to do with fasting.
Okay.
You just don't have food, period.
I was trying to relate this to the mosque.
Oh, no, don't worry. I'm being facetious. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Thank you, City.
Yes.
Wisdom.
Right.
How did you get this?
How did I get
That
what?
interpretation was very deep.
I don't know. I just
You just
that's
smart
where
like
symbolism comes in. You just
Okay.
you imagine that, what does it stand for? We're not talking about architecture here, but there's
True.
a deeper meaning.
Yeah, you're deep.
Okay, so let's look into the headlines this morning, shall we, in terms of what is making the news. On the front page of The Standard, Kenya's bold newspaper, Pain of Haiti. There is a picture there. At 25, Naomi Samuel never thought she would be a widow after what they first thought was a career break for her husband turned into a nightmare when he succumbed to injuries during the controversial Haiti mission. It is unbelievably sad, says Naomi Samuel. I was expecting to receive him back home as he had planned to attend his sister's wedding in April. Samuel Keutai's a widow during an interview with The Standard at their home in Nasirian in Kajiado yesterday. Keutwal was killed in Haiti. So there's the answer to some of your questions on some of the sub-headlines this morning. MPs call for Sakaja arrest over garbage stunt. Oh, there you go. Gachagua says, in all his wisdom, Raila will be president if he joins us. In a candid interview, former deputy president claims he has numbers that will make the opposition leader win the elections with stunning majority. Sour. Ruto in Coast Charmer offensive. We see him in Kwale County today. The president, who is on a week-long tour of the region, promised residents jobs, electricity connection, settlement of squatters and water as he put a case for the broad-based government. Sour. Trump order on digital tax to hurt KRA. Okay, let's see. Pact could see RSF get stronger. That goes into regional news. And the IEBC already telling us that the 2027 elections would cost 61 billion shillings. All right, on The Nation.
Front page of The Nation, the IEBC taking center stage, 2027 elections and 61 billion shillings. IEBC polls shocker. The budget is 19 billion shillings, more than the amount splashed in the 2022 general elections by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and comes at a time when the country's healthcare system is in a mess. The capitation to public schools has not been disbursed, and the university funding model is in disarray. All right, and of course, we're looking at 25 billion shillings, the amount IBC requires in the 2025-2026 financial year to facilitate voter registration and acquisition of election technology, software and hardware. Share crisis, no deal to unlock billions after state-private hospital talks. The standoff between the Ministry of Health and private hospitals over money owed to them by the Shah and defunct NHIF is threatening to plunge Kenya's healthcare system into a full-blown crisis. Also, we're looking at Gachagua. And Gashagua's Mount Kenya offer to Raila triggers a storm. Former deputy president says it is up to Odinga to decide whether he wants to play second fiddle to President Ruto or embrace Mount Kenya and be made president. And on page 14 of the Daily Nation, Kenyan officer killed in Haiti, planned to pay dowry in April. So the top stories and at the front page of the Daily Nation.
City? Over?
Did you know that there are 92 registered political parties in Kenya?
Yeah.
There's one which I personally liked. The symbol is a red shoe.
Nice.
It's called
Danger walking.
Yes, it's called Jirani Mzalendo Asili Party of Kenya.
Oh, do you know
Jirani
anybody that
Mzalendo?
belongs to that party?
Maybe they say Asili more than they say Jirani Uzalendo. There's another Asili.
My friend of 92, I am sure you will find a party that fits into the description you just uttered. 92 is many.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, those are the details that you find in the Star, the Political Parties Act notification of the status of coalition at the 25th day of February 2025. That is now the office of the Registrar Political Party saying these are the political parties that we have in Kenya.
92.
Okay? 9-2.
Wow.
Okay? So just pick the one which you think sort of like fits your fancy. Okay? There are many. Some are particularly interesting. Some are actually particularly hilarious. Now, I won't mention the name because the owners of the party may not think it's hilarious. And they may think my saying it's hilarious is an insult. So I'll just say some are utterly hilarious.
True.
You know, they mix adjectives and then they have pronouns and, you know, they have all this nice mix of things. Tuende pamoja kesho mabadiliko party.
Tuende pamoja kesho.
Right. The Star, my goodness, not much is happening here. There's a commentary by somebody called Lawi Sultan, why Kenyans must delink power to reclaim sovereignty. I tried reading it. Yes, I did. Then Husseina puts a smile on faces of street families. This is an interesting story. It is on page 10 and it is worth talking about. She walks with a bag full of snacks, milk and bread and some clothes for the needy. This is somebody kwa Kiswahili tunasema amejitolea. Yes. Okay. Then there's a picture of the president of Kenya and the ODM boss Raila Odinga shaking hands at State House Mombasa yesterday. They both seem to be smiling, or either they're grimacing from the hot sun. I'm not sure which, but
there's an emotion there.
Sure, something of that sort. And the headline is MPs reject UDA ODM bid to deal with party rebels. Yes, rebels, people who have not sort of like behaved in the manner that the party has prescribed they should behave, and there's a need to follow party ordinances to see how best you can put them on the straight and narrow. Now MPs belonging to these parties have said straight and narrow my foot. Well, they didn't say that, and then who's just said that. Okay, then bang in the middle of the paper.
Yay.
MOU, however, remains closely guarded. They say, this is what they say.
Yes.
They here is the Star. Secret treaty. Raila and Ruto sign 2027 deal. Yes, since it remains secret, this headline only gives you a peekaboo as to what it is that may be happening. But then the whole story is now on page 4 and 5, and they say all manner of things about what I have just said. And there's an article, a comment by a gentleman called Dan Mans. He says Ruto is desperate for Raila's backing. Okay, so that's what they're saying. Then there's a picture of it's headline, Turkanas take up arms to repel Ethiopian militia. Remember, they did come and they did leave, isn't it?
Yes, they did.
So this headline is interesting. Repel, are they coming back again?
That's a good question.
Okay, but it's a picture of young people, armed to the teeth. Yes, the guns that I'm seeing here, they're not these nonsensical guns which fire sort of like one bullet every 5 minutes.
That's heavy.
These are semi-automatic gadgets. So it looks like we have a problem of not brewing, it's fermenting. Business Daily, domestic debt expands by 1.7 trillion under Ruto. Okay, headline. How Treasury plans to fund $900 million Eurobond buyback. Okay, that's all right. Britam deepens its stake in premiums. Okay, Britam Holdings extended its lead in the life insurance business and climbed to the second spot in the general underwriting segments in the half year ended June 2024. Last year. So this year, who knows? They may even be number one.
There could be something.
Right. Nairobi's prime office rents. Listen, this one is interesting. Nairobi prime office rents cheaper than Kampala and Dar. According to this article. Tenants are paying less for prime offices in Nairobi compared to other cities in the region such as Kampala, Uganda and Dar es Salaam, which happens to be in Tanzania. Bang in the middle of this particular paper. No, let's not get there first. Toyota firm to buy another 69% stake in Good Life Pharmacy. Okay? That's Toyota firm. Right. Kibaki era tycoon's company fall over 3.7 billion KCB loan. KCB lent money, Procter & Allen East Africa. Now it has been placed under receivership, which means somebody else running the business and they're telling you exactly what to do, okay? And somehow things didn't quite go the way they had planned. They didn't quite pay whatever they owed as they did.
Yeah.
And now they're being told, let us manage this thing for you and see if we can recover the money.
Okay.
That is what we have.
All right.
Fantastic. So, okay, let's look into some of the stories in detail. Now, everybody's asking questions. So, what happened to Steamer Plaza? Garbage was dumped. Did we go? So now, members of Parliament, decided, let's arrest him over his row with the powerful firm. A parliamentary committee is now calling for the arrest of Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja amid his escalating dispute with Kenya Power over unpaid bills. The National Assembly Energy Committee yesterday condemned City Hall officials for dumping foul-smelling waste outside Steamer Plaza before barricading the office with garbage trucks Monday. They also cut off the power supply to Kenya Power offices. It's interesting. The move by Sakaja's team...
Criminal.
Sorry?
That sounds criminal.
I know. I mean, come on. They turned it off and then turned off the power.
Yeah, that sounds very, very criminal. So City Hall turned off Kenya Power's power.
I know.
That's criminal.
It's crazy.
Trying to make a point.
The move by Sakaja's team is believed to be a retaliation for Kenya Power's decision to disconnect electricity at city county government offices. Last week, several county government offices, including City Hall, were left in darkness after Kenya Power cut off electricity due to an outstanding 3 billion shilling bill. So MPs are saying no, what you guys did was actually wrong and the governor should actually then be arrested. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. At the end of the day, pay your bills, man. Or even if you cannot.
Unless something has happened over time and I don't understand it, Kenya Power gives you a lot of time and notice.
This is what I'm saying.
They don't wake up and just come and disconnect your power. No. They write to you.
There must have been some kind of
conversation. They inform you now. Such a big customer, they probably went and also had a chat, and chances are they agreed that something would be done.
And then
it wasn't done.
It didn't done. So
City though. Okay. Even when we're trying not to laugh, it didn't done.
Yeah, so they say, guys, look, the only way we'll get your attention
is if you turn off the lights.
Yeah, because the issue of payment has to do with these lights. So let's not incur further debts.
Exactly.
Do you guys know what the game member of Parliament, Elisha Odhiambo, said? Let me just share this remarks. He said, and I'm quoting word by word, I think the city is losing control. There should be elections in the other 46 counties, while Nairobi should be run by a military administrator, just like what Uhuru did.
So that's what they tried then instead of shouting before. Yeah. Then now...
He's saying, let's get back. Let's get a military administrator here. It's getting crazy here.
Actually, Elisha Odhiambo has opined. This is the whole point about giving your opinion.
Yeah.
Nairobi is too big an entity to be run from one single spot.
Too big. It is too big.
Too big.
Yeah.
All these sub-counties, as we call them, can be cities within Nairobi. And if they are cities... And the same process of devolution takes place. So you have smaller units, which are essentially autonomous or semi-autonomous, being run. You will find there's more efficiency. It's a monolith. It's too huge to be run by a bunch of people sitting in City Hall. It's too big.
It's time.
It's too big. It doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah,
they cannot.
Let's take a quick break and take a look at weather and traffic, and then we'll come back and continue looking at some more of these stories in detail. VirtoFX.com. I want you to go there, www.virtofx.com. You run a business. This business then can get through with seamless transactions, and you don't have to worry about whether the prices will be too high or whether there will be hidden charges or whether when you pay money it will get there next year. No. From business to business, whether it is small, medium or large, you can rest assured that on this particular platform you can transact in 190 countries and in 49 different currencies. You can do that and not have to worry about all these other things that traditionally you would when making cross-border payments. It is your cross-border payment platform, VirtoFX. Find out more information about it on www.virtofx.com.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 29 and down to lows of 16. And we're looking this morning into a partly cloudy Nakuru at 12, and at 11 it's clear in Nyeri. It's 8 degrees and mostly clear in Eldoret this morning, going to highs of 27. Mombasa at 26 is partly sunny, and it's also partly sunny at 26 in Malindi. Kisumu at 20 is clear with highs of 34, and we'll see highs of 34 in a clear Kakamega, currently at 18. It's clear at 21 in Kampala. Where at Dar es Salaam it's partly sunny at 27, and it's clear at 17 in Johannesburg. 25 and sunny in Mogadishu with highs of 31, and it's 12 and clear in Addis Ababa with highs of 25. Mostly cloudy at 27 in Lagos, with light rain this morning at 23 in Kinshasa. Sunny at 7 in Beijing, and 5 and cloudy in Paris. It's 4 and cloudy in London, and 8 and clear in New York.
Spice up your life.
All right, just getting in to see what's happening with traffic this morning. A little bit of that coming off of the Thika Superhighway. Traffic is then contained between Survey and then moving out towards the Muranga Road and Wangari Maathai Way Junction. Before that, the Eastern Bypass also starting to build up. It's going to build up in certain parts. Right there, that AP Training College Junction, there is some traffic, and it's bumper to bumper through parts of Embakasi and then out towards North Airport Road. Outer Ring does have some action, but it's moving without an issue, at least for now. Oops, and there it is. Traffic coming in before the Thika Superhighway, right on the Thika Superhighway, I mean before Survey, and it's quite heavy as you come in from Githurai, so that's going to do the thing going towards Kasarani, bumper to bumper, so just be aware of that. Other parts of the city don't seem to be clicking just yet. Let's see what happens as we do get through traffic hour. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, at 19 to 7, more stories in detail.
All right, let me look at the IEBC, story now developing, and the costly affair, they term it, inside staggering 61 billion shillings 2027 polls budget. Now, it will cost the country at least 61 billion shillings to undertake the 2027 general elections, according to policy document the poll agency has tabled in Parliament in what promises to be the most expensive elections ever. The budget is 19 billion more than the amount splashed in the 2022 polls by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. The request for election funds comes at a time when the country's healthcare system is in a mess, and the government has also not disbursed capitation to public schools, while the university funding model is in disarray. The IEBC Deputy Chief Executive Officer Obadiah Kitani, while appearing before the National Assembly Justice Legal Affairs Committee over the 2025 budget policy statement, said that the general elections will be funded over 3 financial years. That is financial year 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028. Now, therefore, Mr. Kitani said 15 billion shillings be front-loaded to the 2025-2026 financial year to facilitate what he terms mainly voter registration and acquisition of the election technology, software and hardware. While the polling stations are projected to increase by 9,169 to 55,393 in 2027 from the 46,229 polling stations in 2022. The number of voters per polling station is expected to remain 700. Just in a nutshell, we're looking at the monies around these elections, and it will come out as one of the most, the most expensive elections in the country. Elections have always been expensive, but this one now... In the world, yes.
Not in the country.
Oh, in the world, yes.
Yeah.
which is even crazier. Mm. And every time we do this, conduct these elections, and I had you guys asking earlier on, this machinery, this technology we keep talking about, every year, and now it's even 19 billion more. And every time we conduct elections anyway, we don't even, and no, I'm not being pessimistic. We keep saying they're not credible. They're not fair. That's what we say. after the elections, after spending all this that we're spending. Anyway, let's see what the committee says. It's just what he has presented as the IEBC. Yeah, thereabouts.
Well, okay.
But we need to, civic education, voter registration, the ballot papers, etc., etc.
This equipment that only lasts for one election.
Like this computer. This computer.
Software,
It's
hardware, and software.
5
It's
years.
been here since we sat here.
Yes.
The first day.
That's 7 years? 6 years?
We're on the 6th
On
year.
the sixth
Yeah.
year. It's not the same computer. That's all. I'm just wondering.
And
It,
we have
it doesn't finish like soap.
And when we leave here, other people come and use it.
And it's used every day.
Yes.
I think 24/7.
Yes. Elections are on one day. One.
Is it how they're handled?
No. It's not the question of handling. What is this equipment? What is...
How
the
can
uni-
you acquire new
me see.
equipment every
Every-
election cycle? It doesn't make sense to me.
What?
Are they buying because where does the bulk of the cost come from? I'm interested. Where does the bulk of the cost come from? Do the constituencies change? Do the number of counties change? Do the number of presidents that you're voting for change? Does it not remain 6-piece? The ballot papers, is it not the same template that you use? And then because you don't know which parties will be in the election, or what? Why does it become significantly more expensive? When it was 47 billion, and it was staggering at 47 billion, and people are saying, my God, what are we spending that money on? Now you're adding 17 billion to it.
Let me just look at this, guys. Apparently, there's more within that amount, activities that this amount will involve. Allow me just to give you. There's the media campaign, maintenance of vehicles, purchase of motor vehicles, recruitment and transfer, and team
these
building,
vehicles, why must they buy them every 5 years?
data protection, corruption, prevention, protection, tallying centers, meals, mulo.
Tallying centers, are they buying new centers?
I don't know. There's an amount attached to them. Transport, wages, Kim's replacement.
I have been voting at the same polling station.
Has it
Yeah.
changed?
Kilimani Primary School.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
No,
Alafu?
sorry, mine is St. George's. St. George's Primary School hasn't changed. Same school. What? Ballot boxes, I understand. Ballot papers, I understand.
Upgrading and maintenance of the system.
What system?
What system?
That is what is written. Which system? I don't know.
You see, the point we're trying to raise here is this. When you ask the public to give you that amount of money, because that's what we're being asked,
Yes.
surely you have to explain what it is you're talking about. You're talking about media campaigns. What media campaign? In the last election, apart from the media covering politicians trapezing across the country and talking, the media campaign that you saw was what exactly? There were announcements about registration. There were announcements as to where you can register. There are these announcements. So, if you look at the amount that is being put alongside that particular statement, are you saying that these activities that are actually itemized will cost that amount? Is that what you're saying? And if so, explain why. Because if that money is allocated, it means it would be direct money to what? To the media houses, isn't it?
It's the only thing that makes sense to me, and I don't remember seeing robust IEBC engagement with media houses in the last election, except for the press conferences that they would call here and there. But then I'm also stuck on vehicles. 5 years, a vehicle that you had 5 years ago, where is it?
Where do these vehicles go?
Where do they go? Are they parked somewhere at IEBC headquarters? Because you've talked about vehicle purchase and you've talked about vehicle maintenance.
Yes.
Maintenance I can understand, because maybe you need to give it a bit of a touch up.
Has
to be done. But why are you buying new vehicles?
But
and
for
what?
176 million.
Fine, even if it was just 2 million.
And 408.
What are you buying them for?
What are you buying? No, that one is
To
maintenance.
transport them ballot paper.
But what happened to the cars that you had before? Where did they go? Did you sell them?
I think we need to get someone from the IBC here on
If
the
you
hot
can
seat.
demonstrate that in the course of the 5 years before a new election, there's all this voter education, sensitization, blah, 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 the use of vehicles, the mileage covered is this, when they're and you can actually demonstrate that it's IEBC activity, then the cost makes sense.
Right.
And there is no fuss. But when there's an amorphous amount and then there's an item attached to it,
Absolutely.
with no details of what that particular item means,
One must question.
Questions will be raised.
Absolutely.
It's really that simple.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You have to ask.
Yeah.
Look, and the fact that we talk about Kenya's elections being one of the most expensive, I believe it was number 2 after which country? In the world. We're not talking about East Africa. We're not talking about the African continent. We're talking about the globe.
Wow.
The planet Earth. That elections are held in Kenya is one of the most expensive at about $27 per individual. Essentially, that's what it's been whittled down to. And you want, my goodness, it's ridiculous. It's a lot of money, and then you can't see where it goes.
Well, good thing is the committee members are also raising questions, which they should. But with the parliament that we have, even though they raise questions, well, let's see if they really honor and mean the questions they're raising. Sometimes they ask these questions, it's vigorous, but then ultimately it's given. Well, they're raising questions on the issue with the proposal to allocate 7.04 billion shillings for the acquisition of new 45,000 Kenya Integrated Election Management KIM kits.
What happened to the KIM kits from 2022? Or did they not have KIM kits?
They were there.
What happened to them?
And
Exactly.
Then,
Throw them
and then
away?
when you talk about registration of voters, this is supposed to be an ongoing exercise throughout.
Absolutely.
It doesn't wait for. So how then do you have these huge numbers of Kenyans who are not registered? I mean,
So now they want to start doing registration tomorrow.
Is it
Or
even
come
tomorrow?
April, come April when the
last
new
minute.
Commissioners are put in.
The information about an election and the processes is something that should have been ongoing.
Right.
So when you talk about a budget for the media, we would understand it because this is something that's ongoing. What is ongoing is the media commenting on what is being done.
That's it.
Okay? So these questions are going to actually be raised. In fact, what we've done is not even, we've visited the surface. We haven't even scratched it yet.
Not yet.
Not at
It's
all.
deeper.
We will scratch the surface.
We should.
Yes.
Rightly so.
All right, Titi.
Right. What do I want to talk about?
There was this lady you highlighted earlier on, philanthropist, and you say it was a good story.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I finished the story.
You finished it?
No, I didn't. I'm being facetious this morning. It is actually something that we need to talk about. The lady is called Husseina Simba. Okay? One of the things that she does, let me give you her story.
Yeah.
She's keen to keep alive her brother's legacy 9 years after he died in an accident on the Narok Masai Mara Road. She carries the pain of his loss every day, but honors him by trying to tread the path he taught her. Simba's brother instilled in her, from the tender age of 8, the importance of feeding street families whenever he got the opportunity. He would carry bread, milk, or anything edible to give to homeless persons. He repeatedly told her that kindness was a way of life. Almost a decade later, Simba walks with a handbag full of snacks, milk and bread, and a few decent clothes to hand over to someone she comes across. So ingrained is this in her, the writer of this story, someone by the name of Joyce Kimani, says, when they met at a place called Arabian Cuisine, and they had the bag of goodies. Why I found this particular story interesting is this. It's not just a human interest story. It's a human interest story about what one individual, not 10, one individual, the decision they have made to make a difference. See? The insistence that the government must conduct the duties that are their purview, that will continue and it will persist. But it then doesn't detract and it doesn't remove from the ordinary citizens the duty of bearing and looking after the interests of others. It does not. And it doesn't just mean that you go and feed them. It also means that you stand up for what is actually right, what is just, and what is correct. When you turn your head away and you don't, what you then do is you allow that which you probably would not want visiting you to visit you.
Yeah.
The thing that then causes the problem that you talk about, you've then given it air to breathe and you've given it life.
Yeah.
Yes. That is why I found this particular story interesting.
Okay. We will be having a health conversation at 7 o'clock, but let's look at some of the stories that are making the health headlines today. On the back page of The Nation, senators want mysterious faces behind multi-billion health scheme revealed. Well, that's not going to happen. I'd sooner grow hair on my chest. Senators are now calling on the government to reveal the names of the mystery suppliers contracted by the Ministry of Health to lease medical equipment to counties under the controversial multi-billion shilling National Equipment Support Program. The Senate Health Committee on Health Rather, the Senate Committee on Health has launched investigations into the program, which replaced the controversial Medical Equipment Service, the MES program. Remember, last year, President William Ruto only said there were 7 suppliers contracted under the program without revealing their identities. The lawmakers are saying, well, you know what? Tell us who they are. Yeah. It just makes our job of oversight a little bit easier. We want to be able to know. So they've, launched the investigations. It'll be interesting to see if they get it. Nominated Senator Hamida Kibwana said that the committees would compel the government to provide a detailed breakdown of payments made by each county under the program in the current financial year ending June 30th. That'll be interesting to watch, and I think that's one that we ought to do. Now, no deal to unlock billions after state hospitals talks. They had a conversation yesterday. Remember, Brian Lishenga was here. And after that, he was going to another meeting. The standoff between the Ministry of Health and private hospitals over money owed to them by the Social Health Authority and the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund is threatening to plunge Kenya's healthcare system into a full-blown crisis, with healthcare providers refusing to treat patients until their claims are settled. The lives of millions of Kenyans now hang in the balance as access to essential medical services becomes increasingly limited. So now, during a closed-door meeting with the Ministry of Health yesterday, Chairperson of the Rural Urban Private Hospitals Association, Dr. Brian Lishenga, revealed that the ministry had no available funding or immediate plans to settle outstanding payments to hospitals. So even all this one that we are talking, they don't have money. So where are we going to go with this? He said no progress has been made during the discussions. The ministry made it clear that there is no available funding and no plans to settle the payments to hospitals. However, according to Principal Secretary for Medical Services, Harry Kimtai, they are aware of the claims that are incurred by the defunct NHIF, and the SHA will continue to pay all the undisputed debt. And while you're doing all of that, people who present themselves to hospital today and want to, who present themselves to private and mission-based hospitals and want to access under their SHA membership will not be able to do that. They will have to pay cash or be seen to another facility. That still continues.
Yep. But what caught my attention is they're aware that this is the status quo, but they're also trying to come out as very honest to say, even so, we do not have anything to give you. There is no money, absolutely no money. So in the meantime, they are pretty much agreeing with of course, the private hospitals and religious-based institutions of healthcare that you shall as well proceed with what you decided in terms of referrals and receiving cash.
Well, I'm sure there was a persuasion to have them please continue offer services, but I think there was an outright refusal by the associations to say, no, we're not going to do this.
Because it's on credit. How are they supposed to function? In fact, Brian was here saying, as healthcare practitioners, the worst they want to do is to risk patients. But do they have any other way out? They need money. I'm just wondering how then it will turn out, because I wish they said we have this amount, we'll fix this amount because of the little girl that's coming to the hospital, the old woman, etc. But just saying we don't have the money, for me is really, for me it doesn't it's not something they would have said as a government.
Money, what should they say?
What do you mean they don't have the money?
I've just asked a simple question.
They should have. According to me, they should have the money. I pay taxes every single day. And now they're talking about the budget. Don't tell me you don't have the money.
The point I'm making here is sometimes a little honesty is actually necessary. But it can't be money isn't there for one particular item.
Yes.
Or one particular sector of the economy or the populace. If money isn't there, then the money that was there, where did it go to? What specifically did it go towards? These are the questions that are asked. So when I say, what happens if there's no money? It's a valid question.
Absolutely. Because you remember, we're not talking about money that's being allocated by Treasury. This money that we're talking about that went quote unquote unavailable is money that was paid in premiums by Kenyans towards the fund. So if now you're not, so you pay that money, and then when you go to access, that money now is paid out to hospitals. Now over that 8-year period, if that money has not been paid out, one must ask the question, where did it go?
Yes.
Where did it go? Where is it? Because we're not saying it's a budget item. It's not a budget line. It's not a budget line. it is money that was paid in premiums by Kenyans over years, because the idea is that you pay in a premium and not everybody is activating that money at the same time.
No.
Not everybody.
So as you pay, people are treated, and it continues in that cyclical nature.
Yes.
So where did it go over 8 years?
And why then do we have this issue of unmet bills? Why are we discussing
over and over?
Yes, because the people who accessed the healthcare and who received it were people who had paid. Okay? So, why was their payment not forwarded to the people who provided the healthcare?
I think we just need to stop playing games here, man, and just call a spade and not a big
spoon. Not a big spoon.
That we can't seem to get to the bottom of. You're talking about even government offices. Money was deducted from employees.
Where did it go?
Even the civil. Okay.
Okay, look, those are conversations. Let's have that conversation at 7. Dr. Mtanjadera will be here with us, and we continue looking to the SHA issue. Good morning, it's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Turkana County Assembly Speaker Christopher Nakuleo has resigned from his position just days before the impeachment hearings. Nakuleo resigned afterward. Representatives approved a motion to remove him from office following allegations of violating the law, indiscipline and absconding duty. Friday this week, the Turkana County Assembly was scheduled to debate the motion and vote on Speaker Nakuleo's fate. However, Nakuleo has announced his resignation, saying he made the decision after extensive consultations.
I'm writing this to formally resign from my position as the Speaker of County Assembly of Turkana. It has been an honor to serve in this role and to contribute to the important work of the Assembly. I've gained invaluable experience and forged meaningful connections during my tenure as a Speaker. These decisions come after careful consideration and soul-searching of my personal and professional objectives.
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is expected to benefit the most from his partnership with President William Ruto ahead of the 2027 elections. Inside sources indicate that Ruto is considering adding cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries and ambassador posts to Odinga's side to formalize his political partnership. It's reported that Ruto and Raila are planning to form a coalition of the UDA and ODM parties to increase their political influence. This comes at a time when Raila himself has promised to announce his political stance come next week after consulting with citizens from various walks of life across the country. Speaking in Kisumu County, Odinga indicated that he has formed a task force to gather public opinions on the direction he should take after his defeat in the AUC chairmanship election.
To Nyanza, or this part of Nyanza, we'll be talking to leadership from Kisii, from Western, from the coast, from the Rift Valley, from Eastern, from Northeastern, from Central, all over the country. In this period of time, we're going to consult before we make the next move.
Also, President William Ruto is on his 4th day tour in the coast region, where he'll continue launching development projects until Saturday. Ruto, while in Kwale County yesterday, continued to defend the government's move to collaborate with the opposition. He said the election period was over, insisting that this is the time for all leaders to serve Kenyans, regardless of their political affiliation.
Waswahili wanasema umoja ni nini? Si umoja ni nguvu. Kwa hivyo tuungane, tushirikiane, ndio tupeleke taifa letu la Kenya mbele. Hasa nyinyi watu wa hapa pwani, mara nyingi mulijihisi ya kwamba muliwachwa nyuma, mulibaguliwa, mukatengwa. Mimi nataka niwahakikishie ya kwamba tukisonga mbele, tumeamua siasa ya ubaguzi na ukabila na chuki na migawanyiko tunazika. Sote tunasimama pamoja, tupeleke taifa letu la Kenya mbele. Wakwale, nataka munisikize kwa makini, na wapwani, pale nyuma katika tukisonga mbele hamutabaguliwa tena.
The president also expressed his commitment to fully address land challenges in the region, insisting that all squatters will be given new homes.
Na tayari tumekubaliana na viongozi wenu. Tuko na priority list ya zile absentee landlords ambazo tutalipa mashamba yao wananchi ambao wanaishi hapo, tuwagawie iwe ni kwao, tuwapatie hati miliki ndio tuweze kusonga mbele. Lakini mimi nataka kutoa tahadhari. Kuna watu wakora na matapeli. Wakati wamesikia ati serikali italipa ardhi ya absentee landlords kwa wale wanaishi pale, sasa wamevamia mashamba ya wengine. Mimi nataka niwaambie provincial administration, watu askari polisi, hatuwezi kukubali watu wafamie mashamba ya watu wengine.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Running a business in Kenya and struggling with slow, expensive cross-border payments? With Verto, you can send and receive money globally, faster, cheaper, and hassle-free. Pay suppliers, collect payments, and expand internationally with ease. 49 currencies, 190 plus countries. One powerful platform. Better rates, faster settlements, secure transactions. Global payments made easy. Sign up today at www.vertofx.com. Verto, your global business payments partner.
There's something magical about finding the place you'll call home. The place where every laugh echoes, every meal feels like a celebration, and every day brings new memories. A home where milestones matter, such as birthdays, anniversaries, family dinners, and all the moments in between that make life special. At DTB, we understand that a home is not just an address. It's the place where you build your life. With an interest rate as low as 9% and up to 105% financing, own your dream home with DTB. You can call us on 0719 031 888 or email us on mortgages@dtbafrica.com or visit our website at www.dtbafrica.com. DTB. Bank with us. Bank on us.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is 7 minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're getting into a conversation this morning in the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. And as we get into the second hour, we're getting into a health conversation this morning and seeing what are some of the tenets of SHA and the impact of the federal funding freeze, with a number of other things that we'll be discussing shortly. And our guest is already seated. But before we do that, CT, are you still waving your diamond wand?
I am, actually.
Please tell us how.
Well, this is how I'm waving it. I'm waving it in the hope that when the Stardust settles, someone will be closer to owning the property that they've wanted for the longest time. But the wand and the Stardust that it carries with it is made possible by Diamond Trust Bank. Diamond Trust Bank have the following to say regarding mortgages. They're saying, look, we offer mortgages. We offer 10-year mortgages, we offer 25-year mortgages. We offer mortgages for people who are employed, self-employed, and those who are in the diaspora. We charge single-digit interest on our mortgages. Why? It's because they have partnered with Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company that makes this possible. They're also saying, look, we do not go around charging you some hidden fees. No. If you have a schedule of payment and you pay ahead of schedule, we do not penalize you. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
And they're saying all this information may appear to be a little too good. Yes. And CT Muga may not be the most credible person to tell you this, because he doesn't work for Diamond Trust Bank. But City Muga actually does know what he's talking about. And if you want to verify this, either visit any Diamond Trust Bank branch or email them at mortgages@dtbafrica.com.
Voila.
Yes.
And that's what we're starting off on, getting us into the morning. And so that's great stuff for you to be able to click into, making the journey towards owning your own home. All right. As we're getting into a conversation this morning, the Senior Deputy Director at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sultani Matenda-Chero, joins us again in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning. Dr. good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Very well. How are you?
I'm fine.
You seem very relaxed. And there seem to be fires all over the place.
No, I think maybe I'm relaxed because of the comfort of the seat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a good departure from the fires.
The fires that are around you normally. Well, okay, we're gonna get into some of those this morning. So you might want to, maybe have something cool just around you, and I'll tell you what that cool thing could be later. But hey, as we get into the conversation this morning, City, as you know, normally has a proverb every morning. He wants to share that with us today and tell us where it's from, and then maybe you can interpret that for us and tell us what it means to you. Okay.
Yes, our proverb for the whole of this week come from a country that once was part of a massive, extensive, and marvelous empire. It was then called the Mali Empire, but now it's called the Republic of Mali. The proverb: the kitchen is older than the mosque.
Okay, so you want me to interpret that?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. So where I come from in Lydiah land, we usually say whatever the circumstances, eat fast. So probably it is related to that, because before you even go to the mosque to pray, maybe you need to eat so that you can have the energy to go and pray. So I think what it's just saying is that in life we have quite a number of priorities, very important, all of them, but you have to know how to rank them so that, you are able to carry them out in a way that enables you to do everything that you need to do. Yeah.
Right. Indeed. There's it.
Excellent interpretation.
Fantastic. All right. On a good start, and then getting into some of the things that we need to discuss this morning. We've alluded to the fact that there are a number of fires that seem to be burning and at the same time. And let's start off with Shah, obviously, because it's the elephant in the room and it's about to give birth to another elephant from what we are seeing. What exactly is happening? There seem to be a number of things here, and if we look at the 4 tiers of funding within SHA, when we look at your primary healthcare, which is paid by government, and then we go and look into your healthcare that would seek for admissions and surgeries and things like that, which is paid by premiums that Kenyans pay, and then we go to the 3rd tier, which is critical and chronic care, which then again is taken care of by government and or donors from what we have seen. And then you have your civil servants cover, which then takes care of teachers and police and such. So those, we understand, all come under the Social Health Authority. But it seems at some levels something is not working. We've seen that from the Director of Health, whereby there would be a nationwide recruitment, and recruitment in this case is for more folks to come into the pool via the payment of premiums. But that doesn't seem to be working all in tandem as it was originally designed. So I guess the big question here is why, and what's going on?
Okay. Yeah, so I am impressed with your level of knowledge of the whole structure around SHA, because that's one of the biggest gaps that I've observed in the conversations that are going on. People don't seem to understand, first of all, what this SHA is all about. Sometimes you hear them saying, this shisha. You wonder, but shisha is something that people smoke. And it has even been outlawed, So, but it is good to hear that someone actually has a very good understanding of what SHA looks like and what it involves. But maybe just to put us in context, I would just like to say that all these things are tied to a constitutional provision that we need to make sure that all Kenyans are having access to the highest quality of health attainable, as a constitutional right. So it is imperative that we come up with mechanisms and policies and strategies on how to provide that highest standard of healthcare to all Kenyans. Now, one of the most important pieces that has to fall in place is how to finance these high standards of healthcare, which will be affordable to all Kenyans. And the silver, what do you call it? The silver bullet here is SHA. Without SHA, we are not going to achieve universal health coverage. Without universal health coverage, Kenyans are not going to access the highest quality of healthcare at an affordable cost, at least the majority of them. So we are now moving from a place where we were working with the National Health Insurance Fund model to this model that you have just described, the SHA model. And of course, it's a big shift because now we are looking at moving from just covering a small proportion of the population to covering everybody in the whole population. Now, the challenge has become this shift that we are trying to make. Because, of course, with such a shift, you expect that there will be a bit of turbulence, in the beginning for some time, and then now things stabilize. But from where I sit, I see that we are spending quite a bit of time, much more time, in that area of turbulence. And that is now what we are trying to interrogate. Why are we spending so much time in this area of turbulence? And then number two, the more we spend time in the area of turbulence, the more we tend to start feeling that we are going in the wrong direction, we need to go back. In fact, now I can hear a lot of voices saying, SHA is not working, we need to go back to NHIF. But the fact is that if we are talking about universal health coverage, then NHIF is not an option. We have to all come and put our heads together and see how do we make SHA work and how do we stabilize it as fast as possible. Yes.
So how do we make it work?
So I think, and that's an excellent question. Actually, one of the things that we have to understand is that what is the basis of SHA? The basis of SHA is that we want everybody to contribute. Everybody. It doesn't matter how much you're contributing. Yeah, you might be contributing a bit more, you might be contributing a bit less, but then everybody is contributing. And this contribution, when it goes into a common basket, now we are able to collect an amount of resources that is enough to finance healthcare. So you'll find that some people who are earning much more will be contributing more. Those who are earning less will be contributing less. It even provides for those who are not able to contribute, because some of the people are earning very little, and if you take away from them, then you actually drive them into catastrophe. So for those ones, the government has come up with a mechanism of paying for them, so that whereas they are not the ones who are paying, but at least there's someone who is paying for them. We call them indigents. Yeah. So these indigents are not able to afford to give their premium. So that way now we say everybody is paying. However, one of the biggest challenges is that we are seeing that quite a number of people have not yet registered. Yeah. So that is the entry point, that everybody has to register so that they can benefit from the SHA process, but at the same time so that they can be enabled to pay. Now, out of those who have registered, a very small proportion are actually paying. So you see, that's the first challenge, because we are not able to now mobilize the kind of resources that we need to finance this healthcare. Number two, the facilities that are providing healthcare services now need to get into contracts with the SHA, because previously you'll find that it was NHIF, so there was an arrangement with NHIF. Now, this is a completely new arrangement. So we are expecting that for facilities to be recognized and for order, then there must be a contract between the facilities and SHA. Now, we are experiencing a bit of a difficulty because quite a number of facilities have not gotten into that contract. So they are not able to provide the services under SHA. And when people go to those facilities to be treated, they are not able to access the services. Now, there are other challenges that maybe we can just group together and say others. Yeah, we have experienced situations where at individual level, some people are reluctant to play their part in making this SHA work. I'll give you an example of someone who was telling me a story. I don't know whether it was a fact or maybe they were just making it up. That a friend of his, is affected because the wife works in NHIF.
Yes.
Now, NHIF, as it is, has about 1,700 employees thereabout. Yeah. Now, one of the things that is one of the major touch points for SHA, because we are also trying to see how we can introduce efficiency. We want to move away from the inefficiencies that were there before. One of the touch points is to now ensure that we have just enough employees. So we are looking at reducing these employees from 1,700 to something around 800, between 600 to 800 there. So we are already seeing that about 1,000 jobs, if you look at it that way, are at risk. Now, these employees are wondering, am I going to make it, to this transition, or am I going to be among those who will not make it?
Yeah.
So the interpretation now becomes that, some people who are worried of losing their jobs might actually be just sabotaging the process, so that it looks like this SHA is not a very good idea. Let's just stay with NHIF so that, we can retain our jobs. Now, another thing that, because now we are trying to understand what is the problem, why is this thing facing a lot of headwinds?
Yeah.
Another thing that is coming up is the possibility that, in the past, under the NHIF, again, just inefficiencies, the facilities worked with something called benefit packages, where we would say, if you have a headache, what is the maximum amount of money that you will need to treat that headache? Now, remember, headaches can... I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying that is what was happening.
Yeah.
But, remember that headaches can come due to very many reasons. Some of them might just come because you are anxious. You are anxious
in the moment,
and you start having a headache, tension headache, and you don't need to even treat it. You just need to relax and it goes. So, you might not need to spend anything. Others might just need, you take some paracetamol and you're okay, just 10 shillings. But there are some headaches which might come because of a tumor, and you might need to undergo treatment worth millions of shillings. So you see, it is a whole range from 0 to millions. So you'll find that maybe a benefit package which was capped at 100,000, somebody is coming in with a condition that is covered under that benefit package, which actually just needs about 10,000 for treatment. However, when claims are made, they are made at the maximum, 100,000. So you start seeing facilities really growing very fast, and you're wondering what is happening. This is a very lucrative business. But it is because of those inefficiencies, because now we are funding infrastructure, we are funding the growth of private facilities and so on, instead of targeting the patients and the sickness.
Right.
So what SHA is trying to do is to say, let us look at the majority of these people. Where should we cap? If we cap it at a certain point, are we going to capture 80, 90%? Then these 10% who require very big amounts of money for the same condition, we can now be able to look at them at them more keenly under the emergency, chronic and critical illness fund. So you see, this one now kicks in to make sure that even if you have a tumor, we will be able to fund the treatment of that headache completely.
Right.
But now under a different arrangement. Whereas we are now managing these other simple headaches, we are also managing the complex one.
Okay.
So what happens? The few, because these are now few, they are not the majority, they are the minority. The few unscrupulous providers who are benefiting from those packages start crying wolf and saying, no, they start creating a lot of confusion and, and saying, this thing is not working, it's so bad, we need to run away from it, because they do not want to now suffer the consequences of these benefit packages. So those are some of the issues that we are looking at. There are quite a number of them, but we are hoping that if we can have good conversations and engagements, then we should be able to address these issues.
How much does the government budget for healthcare provision in the country?
So when you look at it in terms of consolidated fund, because Parliament appropriates for healthcare, there is what goes to the national government, but then there is also some resources that go to the counties, where now the counties will be expected to appropriate again towards healthcare. But roughly you can put it at around 120 to 160 billion every year.
That is what is budgeted for.
That's generally now an approximation of what goes into healthcare.
Okay. Yeah. When we talk about primary healthcare, what is it that we think we would need in a year to provide adequate health services in that particular sector of SHA?
Okay, of course we need a lot of resources. Now, unfortunately, I'm a technical person. For me, what I really go into is to look at how do we manage these outbreaks of leishmaniasis and MRSA and so on. So when we now go deep into the provisions of resources,
don't worry,
then it becomes a little bit
I will leave that
difficult.
alone. Now, let's go to the chronic and critical care.
Yeah.
A certain amount. There's a reason why I'm asking the question.
I know, yeah.
You do know.
Yes.
I'm simply saying this. Are we suggesting that what the government budgets for healthcare, because that budget is what is cascaded to the counties, it's not as though there are 10 other budgets, it's the same budget. Is it adequate for the needs that we are saying SHA hopes to meet?
No, what the government is budgeting is not enough.
Precisely.
Yeah.
If it isn't enough, the burden that the government has pledged to carry with regards to SHA, does that budget cover what it is that is then required if we look at what the government is supposed to actually cover?
So when you look at the plan that is in place, that's what it wants to address, so that we can raise adequate resources to be able to take care of the various funds under SHA. Remember, as Ndu correctly put it, we are looking at two, forget even about the fourth one, the civil servant scheme and so on. Actually, the main funds are the three. Because when SHA is fully functional, we don't want to have anything like special schemes for civil servants and so on. Everybody is just supposed to access quality healthcare, whether you are a civil servant, whether you are a street boy, everything, whether you are a business magnate, everybody is supposed to access the same quality of healthcare at an affordable cost. So the three funds are supposed to now address that issue that you are talking about. The primary healthcare fund is extremely important, and I think that is something that probably we are also not explaining very well, because you'll find that the primary healthcare fund is targeting issues around health promotion and disease prevention. That is an area that we have, I don't know why we have run away from it for all these years. Because what happens is, if you focus and invest in health promotion and disease prevention, then you are going to drastically reduce the number of people who are going into hospitals to seek treatment, rehabilitation, and palliative care.
And that's where all the cost really is, isn't it? Yes.
So you see, primary healthcare fund is not just about allocating money to go into the usual same old treatment. It is about allocating money, investing in a paradigm shift, where we are going to now, and we have to spend money. We have to spend money. We keep on thinking that if I come to Spice and I say, wash your hands, then people will wash their hands and the disease
and
will
then
go
we're
down.
fine.
It won't. We have to invest in effective interventions, which are now going to ensure that we are promoting health and preventing disease. Then the numbers drastically go down. So what we need for treatment drastically goes down, and it becomes affordable. Now, the government is going to take care of primary healthcare fund. Now, I just explained a little bit about the whole issue of the emergency, chronic, and critical illness fund, which also has its very special role in making sure that we bring efficiency into the shift. Now, these three funds that we are talking about primary healthcare fund, emergency, chronic and critical illness fund, especially those two, there was a plan on how to raise those resources because there are a lot.
Okay, let's talk about the plan.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the plan. The reason I'm interested in the plan,
yes,
that plan, when activated, should solve these problems, isn't it? So, do you have knowledge of the plan?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it. What was the plan? How is it supposed? Because the truth of the matter is that this ambitious project cannot be met with what we normally do regularly.
Absolutely.
Because if the other day Parliament proceeds to allocate 1.8 billion for primary health care, you look and you say, whoa, do these people know what they're talking about? What are you supposed to do with that amount? Anyway, what was the plan?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the plan was that let's be able to allocate sufficient resources to primary healthcare.
Yes.
Let us also allocate sufficient resources to emergency, critical and chronic illness fund. For primary healthcare, we were actually looking at the possibility of being able to allocate sufficient resources for everybody who requires these primary healthcare, which is mainly health promotion, disease prevention, which are usually provided at the level 2 and level 3.
Yes. Okay.
Level 1, 2 and 3. So level 1 is the community level, where we have the community health promoters, the community health assistants, and generally it's a household-based kind of level.
Yeah.
Level 2 is mainly the dispensaries, you know.
Yeah.
And the dispensaries are usually like offices for these community health promoters where they get their refills and, coordination and so on. But if somebody has a minor ailment like malaria, uncomplicated malaria, they can be able to get some treatment and go back home. And they can also get information. The community health promoters actually are the main drivers of health promotion. Now, level 3 is the health centers, where if you have a simple ailment, before it, sometimes early treatment is a very important form of prevention. It's actually like secondary prevention. So that if you fall sick, say like now malaria, you don't stay with it for very long because you'll start infecting other people.
Yes.
So you now quickly go in and you are treated before it is too long. So it is too late. So this level is the one that really takes care of the bulk of primary health care. And the plan was that we give enough resources to these levels, the level 1, 2, and 3, so that people can just walk in. So long as you are registered with SHA, you just walk in, you get the services, you go back home without any kind of payment.
Right.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Yes, that's the idea.
That's the
and
plan.
it is a very expensive idea, and unlike what we think, because science has shown us, actually studies have shown us that for every shilling we invest in primary healthcare, we will save upwards of 9 shillings that would have gone into treatment, rehabilitation, palliative care.
Okay.
So that is a very good investment. In fact, if this country wants to grow economically, that is one of the things that we should not let go.
Okay.
However, unfortunately, and this is something that is really unfortunate. In last year, when we were now looking at being able to raise the money that should go into primary health care and these other funds that we are talking about, we all know what happened in June, the finance bill. It failed. So that instrument, that finance bill, that instrument that failed is the one that was supposed to raise this money. And you remember, the biggest complaint was that now we are overtaxing people and whatnot and all that. But the truth is, it was necessary to overtax, using the words verbatim, so that we can raise these resources. Because if you are talking about, say, 70 billion additional to go into just primary healthcare, you really need to find ways of raising that money. So when it failed, we were not able to move with the primary healthcare. We were not able to move with the other chronic and critical illness fund. But, government doesn't say that because the finance bill has failed, now we will not provide services. You have to look for some way in which you can do some patchwork to ensure that things are moving.
I wanted to take a break, but I think at that point is where you now say, but then how do you then
do the patchwork where you have people who are sick today, where you have people who need healthcare today.
Right.
You also have people who have been paying their premiums diligently, month on month, year on year. And like the sad case of this baby who died the other day, whose mother has been paying premiums for the last 10 years to a defunct NHIF and continues to pay today to under the health authority. Baby dies and she's left with a bill of 1.6 million shillings and they paid 23,000 shillings. So one must ask the question, what's going to happen in that kind of a case? Because you can't do patchwork. When people are sick today.
I think now we are getting into the real issue. So when we come back, you'll have to refresh. So
I will refresh that for you when we come back from that break. Senior Deputy Director in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sultani Matendachero, is our guest this hour. And we're looking at Shah and other things. We're also going to come into how funding freezes from partners then affect some of these programs that we are talking about in the country today. We'll do that when we come back from that break. And it is 26 minutes to 8.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. It's 15 degrees, 14 in a mostly sunny Nakuru, and 12 in sunny Nyeri. 11 degrees and partly sunny in Eldoret, and Mombasa at 26 is sunny, with sunny conditions at 26 in Malindi. It's 19 and sunny in Kisumu, with 18 and sunny conditions into Kakamega. 21 and sunny in Kampala, while Dar es Salaam at 28 is sunny. Johannesburg is sunny at 16, I beg your pardon. While Mogadishu at 26 is sunny, and Addis Ababa at 12, sunny as well. 27 in a mostly cloudy Lagos, while it is raining in Kinshasa at 23.
Spice FM. Spice up your life.
We are in traffic hour this morning, very busy, coming off of a thicker superhighway. Many spots of bumper-to-bumper action as you come in from Ruiru through towards Githurai, Kasarani through towards Garden City, and then onto Survey, very busy. Kiambu also bumper-to-bumper. And if you look at Outer Ring, it's flowing freely in both directions. But coming in from the Eastern Bypass, there is heavy traffic heading towards North Airport Road. And then from the Cabanas interchange outbound, very heavy traffic as well. Uncharacteristic at this time, but must be something clicking here because it's very, very heavy and it's bumper to bumper through and through as you get round the Embakasi loop. There's some traffic on Jogoro this morning heading out towards Landis. Just a smidgen of it as you get towards the Kamkunji at the roundabout. But Uhuru Highway is busy from Nyayo Stadium through to the Haile Selassie Junction. And so we're looking at traffic clicking in all parts this morning. Coming in from Naivasha Road, Kikuyu Road through towards Ngong Road. We are in traffic hour proper. Let's keep an eye on things this morning and try to keep things moving. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
1 million people get into the job market every year, and as they do that, perhaps the skills that we're looking for, we don't get them. And so KCB Foundation, under the 2G Ajiri program, has come in and said, you know what, let's connect you with skills to be able to enter into the job market and then be able to connect into businesses. So we're going to tool you with after you get those skills in the 6-month training program. You come out of that, and then we can connect you with the opportunities that are available once you have the skills connect that you need. So the 2G Ajiri program under the KCB Foundation is 18 to 35. Youth in that age bracket are getting those opportunities, and you can find out more about that and get into the next cohort. It's www.kcbgroup.com/foundation. Dr. Sultani Matendachero is our guest this hour, and we're looking into issues of SHA. So coming off of that break, and the question, because now we're looking at practical issues, Dr. We say that prevention is better than cure. It's been said. And so preventative care is one aspect that's being looked at. But if we looked at the practicality of some of these things that we're asking about now, when people say SHA is not working, we're looking at the case of Ariana. This baby passed away, but her mother has been making her payments religiously, even when it was NHIF, and continued to do so when it is under the authority. The baby is gone. She's left with a bill of 1.6 million. The authority has paid 23,000 shillings, which is not even a drop in the ocean. It's not even a bit of sweat, moisture. So, how then do we deal with that particular issue when you say, okay, so but I've been contributing?
Yeah, so that's a very pertinent issue because, I really, it's really sad to hear that story of baby Ariana. You know, those are now some of the practical challenges that we are looking at. And as healthcare providers, the worst thing that can ever happen is to lose a patient because, once they die, then the challenges that you are trying to address, by the time you finish addressing, you cannot now go back and say, okay, now we have fixed everything, so wake up so that we can continue. So, and of course, my very sincere condolences to the family.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is a challenge that is facing a lot of people, including myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before we moved over to SHA, I was being deducted 1,700 per month towards NHIF. And right now, when I looked at my payslip, I was last month this month I'm going to be deducted 15,000 shillings. Yeah. Now, if I fell sick today and I went to, let me not name hospitals.
Okay.
But a hospital that I probably would want to go to, a nice private hospital.
Yeah.
I have practically been to a hospital and I'm told we are not taking SHA. You know? For those reasons that I talked about, some of the hospitals have no contracts. Some of the hospitals have not been paid. They are having bills, know, all the way from NHIF. They have bills. So they have said, I am not going to continue providing services unless I am paid those bills. So you see, I am paying much more, but now I am not able to receive the services. And those are some of those choke points that I was talking about, the turbulence that we are seeing. Of course, there are some other, on the other hand, there are some other experiences, and I can even show you messages, people sending to me telling me, this SHA is really good. I went to the hospital and within minutes, we had already received authorization and I was treated. So a lot of those ones, we don't hear about them. But then these others that are very sad, know, are the ones that we hear about a lot. So those challenges that we are spending so much time trying to address is what we really need to now put our heads together. And I think one of the things that I keep on saying is we have to also reorient our mindset because implementing something like universal health coverage is not an easy thing. It's a very complicated thing. It is it requires a lot of resources, it requires a lot of planning, it requires a lot of efficiency, and we all have a part to play in it. Now, when people are trying to do such a complex, when they're trying to implement such a complex shift, most of the time we will start getting frustrated along the way, and we will start looking at each other to see who can we blame among ourselves, so that we can now apportion and say, you are the one who is responsible for this mess, you are the one who is responsible for these troubles. But the solution here is that we have to reorient ourselves, we have to take a break, look at things, see how can we all participate. And it is a global thing. Universal health coverage is not easy. In the global north, it's possible because they have quite a bit of resources available for healthcare. In the global south, it is very difficult. So we are still having those challenges, and we are really looking at who do we blame for these challenges, who is responsible, and so on. We need to rethink around it and say, how can we change our discourse so that everybody participates? How you should be asking yourself, as a journalist, how can I contribute towards making this work faster?
Okay, this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to contribute.
I'll ask after.
Okay? Dr. I'm going to do exactly what you've asked.
Okay.
It is true.
Yes.
Very few countries have been able to actually institute a program that you can refer to as universal health. Start with a roadmap. Not piecemeal information about it, a roadmap. We began and we piloted with 5 counties. Was it 5? Yes. we knew there was a pilot.
Yeah.
There were results from the pilot. The consistent and constant communication about the process got lost somewhere along the way. So you don't even hear. When you pilot, the whole purpose so that you can cascade it to a larger number. From 5, maybe you go to 15. From 15, you go to 25. So that over time, there's a roadmap that by the time we get to this, we'll have gotten to 40 or 47. So people know as you're thinking. And any time that move is made, you announce it or you tell people the path. So now, when you talk about universal healthcare right now, most people have no clue what it is you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Because that conversation was not maintained.
Right.
That's one.
Okay.
Let's come to primary healthcare, the preventative aspect of healthcare, as opposed to the curative, which we know. Anybody who understands anything, no matter how minute about health, knows this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Do we know the diseases that people present when they are at that level where they go to a dispensary, or when it is that they go for what may be primary health care? Do we know? We do know. We do know the ailments that ail people, as we say, generally. We do know. And we do know, for instance, malaria. We know people get malaria. We know people get pneumonia. We know people get diarrhea. We know. Now, these are diseases that can be managed at that level that you are talking about. Easily. When they mature and you've taken them to the next level, now that's a completely different story. The amounts of money that Ndu was talking about then come into effect, because ICU may be around the corner. Do we have a roadmap where it is clear that when you have these community health promoters, what it is that you are looking for is training the community to probably syndromically understand that when somebody presents this, the likelihood is that this is what may be happening. A program, and again, not complicated. Why? Because it has been tested and tried. The ICCCM program that was done among children to sort of like prevent mortality among children proved this case so effectively. And it was done in Homa Bay County. How do I know? Because I was part of it, so I know. Okay? Cascading this thing now so that you are dealing with an adult population, same thing. The very thing you're saying could have been achieved because you're talking about what, over 10 years ago. It could have been achieved, but that absence of consistency in doing what we know we must do. Now, where you work, that place is full of exceedingly intelligent and knowledgeable people who know exactly what should be done. They know. If we do this, it moves here. If we do this, they know. So, when we say we have a problem like the one we have, you have to ask the question, with such knowledge and such expertise, why are we just dwindling around the same spot? Because this discussion, we don't seem to be moving. And yet, there are people who know exactly how to move and exactly how to get to where we're supposed to go. They know. They don't even need to read anything. They'll just tell you, actually, if we did this and did this and did this, this is what we would do.
So how do you address that?
Yeah, so I want to agree with you in quite a number of things that you have raised. Number one, communication. And probably, as you said, as you correctly said, that's where you come in also.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of ensuring that people get the information.
Yes.
Communication is a very important intervention, public health intervention.
Yes.
And that's why, actually, when I was informed that there is an opportunity to come and talk about this challenge, I said I will put everything else aside and come so that we have this conversation, because I know that you have very many listeners who will benefit from what we have to say.
Yeah.
Because this communication is what now enables people to know how do we go about it. So probably there could be a little bit of a challenge in terms of being able to effectively communicate, which we need to look into. But then another very important issue is what you have said. How do we stick to the plan? Because we have a very good plan.
Yes.
Yeah. How do we stick to it? How do we make sure that we are implementing it 100%?
How do you let people know that this is the plan and this is where we are?
Yeah.
This is the roadmap. At this point, we are at Mtitwande.
Yeah.
At this point, we are at Mariakani. We are approaching Mombasa. How do we let people know so that they travel the journey with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you remember in the beginning I said even SHA is a very good, it's laid out very well. And on paper, if you look at it, it's something that by now we should have been enjoying these, probably we would be at 90, 100%, because things don't happen overnight. But we have spent so much time at the norming stage. We are still having a lot of turbulence. Why? And we are talking about the same things. We all want the same thing. In fact, there are times when we are having discussions, and sometimes they can get really heated when you are trying to implement something complicated. Very many times you'll find that you are in arguments. Sometimes they get heated, and sometimes I just take a step back and I just watch. I say, okay, let me just look at what is happening here, and I find that interestingly, everybody is arguing about the same thing. We all want the same thing. So probably that's why I'm saying we have to reorient. We need to pause and look at how we are implementing, because we have a perfect plan that can take us to where we want. But then it's not moving.
Let me take you back to the plan, and I just want to take you back when you mentioned the Finance Bill 2024, that there were hopes that this would actually make this work, but it didn't, because of course we had to withdraw it. That's basically it. But we had the Appropriation Bill as well, 2024, signed in. The President was very quick on doing that. And I appreciate when you keep saying there has been a plan. There is a plan. We need to reorient ourselves. There is a Health Committee in the Senate that is questioning a number of things, including the debt owed, etc. Now, I want to take you back to yourself and give us, because you said the media need to do more communication, and I just want to hear at least 3 things that you're doing, because you're saying, well, we need to do. What are you doing? Because we no longer have the Finance Act Bill 2024. The courts pronounced themselves that we can proceed with the Finance Act 2023. And now what are you doing in that regard? Because as we're speaking, Kenyans really don't want to hear, and this is honest, that, okay, there is this, these are the challenges, this is where we are. We did the pilot, this is the reality. Now we want to hear exactly, all right, at least in 3 bullets, what is being done at your level that is practical, that you can tell us without just saying we have a plan, that is actually happening, because that's what I've been waiting to hear.
So we have to be patient, first of all. Relax, cool down, breathe.
No,
Easy.
There is no more space for breathing. No, because as we're speaking,
I want to encourage you to relax.
No, it is this serious.
Because one of the challenges is that when we are very impatient and we are very,
How much patience do we need?
We need to relax.
How much more patience?
We need to be relaxed. These things, they cannot happen overnight.
All right.
Yeah? Please, Anki, I like, I've never heard your name before. This is the first time. So we need to we need to give ourselves space to do this, because it cannot happen overnight. And I think one of the challenges we are having today is because we are trying to rush into things, and then we probably don't get it right. But let's be a bit patient. Number 1, simple things. Let us encourage each other to register. Personally, I am, sometimes, let me just say the truth, sometimes I get a bit frustrated. I say, okay, so how long is it going to take? Because sometimes I'm even tempted to calculate how much I have contributed. And then I start saying, if I was just saving this money somewhere, then it would be enough. Even if I had a very big problem, I would just walk into a hospital and pay. But I say, no, inculcate patience, let things work out, so that at the end of the day, we are all going to benefit, So, first of all, we need to encourage each other that let's register, let us contribute. Like a very big challenge that we are facing now, we have over 19 million people registered, for sure. But just less than 4 million are actually contributing. So you see, that is not registration itself is not important. What is important is register and contribute. Number 2, we have also seen, we have actually seen this, that there are some people who have studied. There is something called a means testing tool, which is used to estimate how much you are supposed to contribute per month. And there are some people who have discovered how to cheat this tool, so that even somebody like CT Muga, who probably should be contributing 20,000 per month, now ends up filling the tool, and it says now Muga should contribute 300 per month.
Which is a good amount to contribute.
You see, now that is what we need to encourage each other to to look at differently, because we shouldn't be looking at it in terms of how much am I losing. You're not losing, you know.
You know, Daktari, the issue here.
Because I'm coming back to the government part role to play. And I understand you're talking more about the public
identifying
role.
where to apportion blame.
No, there's no blame really. No blame really. But
let's all play our part.
We moved from NHIF to SHIF, knowing very well the debts that were still yet to be paid.
Yeah.
So it's not always a register remit, and that's fine. The public
So,
ought to
for
be
example,
patriotic.
like the debts you have talked about,
Yes.
the NHIF debts.
Yes.
Do you know that there is a very active and ongoing effort to pay them?
Effort.
Yes.
Okay.
They are being paid. But impatience, you know, I was talking about impatience. Those debts have been there, you know.
Yes,
By the time
yes.
we were moving to SHIF, there were about 30 billion, you see. And there is an active attempt to pay them. But you see, it looks like even this active attempt is the one that is now provoking more animosity. Because now, by just trying to start paying, of course, we are expecting it will take a bit of time. Now, the requirement is pay them now, pay now. We are not going to provide any more services unless you pay everything. So you see,
in as much as we can understand where that frustration comes from,
it is very difficult.
Yeah. Our time, I mean, but we wanted to look at one other issue which is critical here. That there's a tier of this funding that will then be, it's a combination of government plus donor funding, and that's where a lot of this freeze comes that will start to cause some kind of anxiety. Not anxiety, but folks are full-blown worried about what's going to happen. The announcement on federal funding freeze that came from the US then threw a lot of countries into a tailspin. And it's at that level now we start to worry. We're looking at palliative care. We're looking at care for HIV. We're looking at many cases, malaria and, provision of blood donation. It goes on and on and on. So with a freeze like that, which happened this year, it could happen anytime. What would government do to ensure that even if there is a freeze on donor funding, that it doesn't throw the system into a collapse?
So that's actually, we are now in the deep of that, because we are seeing some real impact of the freeze of donor funding, especially to the health sector. And, we all know that when the current US president came into office, he actually issued some executive orders that impacted heavily on the funding that we are getting from the US. Some bilaterally, that is directly from the US to the country, and other funding through multilateral platforms like through WHO, Global Fund, UNFPA. We have seen quite a bit of funding being, stopped.
Yes.
And it's not just a small amount of funding. It is quite heavy.
Significant.
So one of the things that I'd like to say about this is I have seen that a lot of people have gone into a panic. But what we really want to say is that for the general population, they should not panic, because we will do everything within our capacity to ensure that continuous provision of critical healthcare is not impacted.
Where would it come from? If it has been depended upon, if it depends on donor funding. It's depended on donor funding for the very longest time. So the question is, where would it come from today?
Right.
If the donor funding is suddenly stopped, where would it actually come from practically, Daktari? Where do you see it coming from today?
Yeah, so it's a conversation that we've been having for the last few weeks, and we have already identified strategies to be able to plug the gap. Yeah, and actually, if there's anyone to worry about this, it is me and my colleagues, because I can tell you literally there are times we have not slept, gone into the night trying to figure out how are we going to ensure that these services are not stopped. So, and we are actually moving towards being able to plug the gaps. Number one, we have identified that whereas we are saying that the impact of this stop is about 30.1 billion, or is it 31 billion per year, we are realizing that it could be much less. Because take, for example, the support that is going towards human resource. From the records we have found that we are saying we are going to lose 5.8 billion towards human resources for health. But when we now break it down completely and say First of all, what was these human resources that was receiving 5.8 billion? You find it includes even people who are working within those USAID programs, you know, T-girls, or drivers, and so on and whatnot, who we might not now have to transition into this new arrangement.
Okay. Yeah.
Interestingly, you'll find that that cost can even go down by 75% when we now say these are the critical HR that we need to be able to continue financing. So number one, we are working on identifying the exact gap, which is going to be much less than what we are reporting. Number two, we are looking at ways of raising some money. Of course, now that, this is a very important thing. You know, sometimes it's good for us to be very candid and genuine. Kenya is one of the countries in the global south. Our economies are very fragile. So most of the time you'll find whatever amount of money we have, the resources, there is a very big competition for a lot of things, infrastructure development, education, and so on, very many sectors. So we tend to look at the availability of foreign funding as a reprieve to say, now that there is foreign funding, let us focus on these other sectors. Okay? Now, when we are told that try and put some money into health sector, we say, okay, yeah, but because we are in so much need, we continue putting in other sectors. Now we have gotten to a point where the money is not coming. So what do? We have to look for ways of now rediverting some of the money into the health
something
sector.
else.
So there is something that we will have to do around appropriation from the consolidated fund so that we allocate a little bit more, not
towards
to cover the whole gap,
but at least to fill
but
somewhere.
towards it. Now, another thing again we are doing is we are actively engaging private sector, local private sector, because we also have billionaires here who can also give the same kind of resources that we are receiving.
Happening on the other side.
Externally.
You know, Dr. Matenda-Chero, it is, our time does run out. There is too much, and I feel that they need to be front and center of conversations all the time. So, I mean, our invitation to you is open to keep coming back and let's look at these things and keep these conversations in the open and not hidden under the cover of darkness.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
In the hot seat of Kenya's biggest conversation. Dr. Sultani Matenda-Chero is a Senior Deputy Director at the Ministry of Health, and we've been trying to unpack some of these things this morning. The unpacking continues in a further conversation. Asante Sana. It's 8:01.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Rwanda has criticized the UK for posing bilateral aid and imposing sanctions of a role in DRC conflict, saying it's unreasonable to expect compromises on its national security. This event comes as the United Kingdom has called on Rwanda's President Paul Kagame and his Democratic Republic of Congo counterpart Felix Tshisekedi to honor African-led peace processes. In a statement, the UK noted the African-led processes were key to addressing the conflict in DRC, which has so far left hundreds dead and millions displaced. The UK directed the two presidents to engage the leaders currently picked to lead the merged Nairobi and Luanda peace processes with the pure intention of ending hostilities. This comes hours after the East African Community and the Southern Africa Development Community appointed former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, and former Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn as joint facilitators of the process. Now, Senior Deputy Director, Ministry of Health, Dr. Sultan Matenda-Chero, says for universal health coverage to work, then Social Health Authority has to also work. Speaking on SpiceFM, Matenda-Chero said that NHIF is therefore not the solution, rather Kenyans have to make contributions for SHA to work.
If we are talking about universal health coverage, then NHIF is not an option. We have to all come and put our heads together and see how do we make SHA work and how do we stabilize it as fast as possible. The basis of SHA is that we want everybody to contribute. It doesn't matter how much you're contributing. Yeah, you might be contributing a bit more, you might be contributing a bit less, but then everybody is contributing. And this contribution, when it goes into a common basket, now we are able to collect an amount of resources that is enough to finance healthcare.
He added that for SHA to work, more Kenyans have to register with the authority, and health facilities also have to get into contracts with the authority.
However, one of the biggest challenges is that we are seeing that quite a number of people have not yet registered. So that is the entry point, that everybody has to register so that they can benefit from the SHA process, but at the same time so that they can be enabled to pay. Now, out of those who have registered, a very small proportion are actually paying. So you see, that's the first challenge, because we are not able to now mobilize the kind of resources that we need to finance this healthcare. Number two, the facilities that are providing healthcare services now need to get into contracts with the SHA, because previously you'll find that it was NHIF, so there was an arrangement with the NHIF. Now this is a completely new arrangement.
And finally, in the international scene, the estimated cost to rebuild Ukraine's economy after Russia's invasion has risen to $524 billion. That is 67.8 trillion Kenya shillings, nearly 3 times its expected 2024 economic output. The World Bank, United Nations, European Commission and Ukrainian government found. A new study by the institutions included data from Russia's invasion 3 years ago through December 31st, including a 70% increase in damages to Ukraine's energy infrastructure from Russian attacks. It showed an increase of over 7% from the last estimate of $486 billion. That is equivalent to 62.9 trillion Kenya shillings 1 year ago, with housing, transport, energy, commerce and education being the most affected sectors. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is 6 minutes after 8 o'clock into the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. And as we continue looking into very pertinent issues that affect the country, the region, and indeed the globe, 1 million people enter into the job market every year. And with that, we have some folks who are not tooled enough with the skills that they require to enter into the job market properly, or to start businesses that would see them move from one point to the next. So the KCB Foundation saw this gap, and under the 2 Jejiri program is making sure that the necessary skills then are gotten for youth between the ages of 18 and 35 to be able to go to an institution, get those skills across different subject areas, and then come back into the job market tooled and armed with what they need to be able to make it through and to succeed. Now, what has happened is that over the last few years, 155,000 people have gone through the skills program, and they've come out on the other side, either starting their own businesses or being connected to jobs around the country. You can do that too. You can get connected. All you need to do is go to the website www.kcbgroup.com/foundation, and you'll get that information under the 2 Jiajiri program. And there's a man with a wand, and he's spreading diamond dust all over the place, and he's telling us that, you know what, if you're going to get a mortgage, we've got the best place for you to be able to do that. Siti, c'est quoi?
Yes, indeed. Mortgages. Mortgage plus mortgage equals a house. Well, Diamond Trust is saying this. We at Diamond Trust want to have a conversation with you about what you may have thought was the impossible. We want to tell you that with us, that is what we refer to as the possible. Are you employed? Are you self-employed? Are you in the diaspora? All you need to do is simply get in touch with Diamond Trust Bank. And there's a gentleman who's doing that on behalf of Diamond Trust Bank, so pay a little attention, listen to him.
Otherwise known as yours truly.
He's speaking right now.
Yes. If you're employed, you can access us. You can access up to 105% of the mortgage that you need. If you're in the diaspora, up to 80%. 9% for 10 years, 9.75 for 25 years. That is the interest you will pay. There are no hidden charges whatsoever. None. You won't be shocked. What you're told up front is it. There are no penalties if you pay ahead of the schedule that you have been given.
Right.
But now significantly is you need to go and get in touch with Diamond Trust. Either visit any branch that they have in the country, or simply email them at mortgages@dtbafrica.com. Why? Because that communication or the beginning of that conversation will enable you to understand what it is that you can get with the resources you have. You know your resources, they know their mortgages. You combine those two heads together, you'll come up with a solution, and that solution will probably end up in you owning a house.
Voila. And that's it. I like this magic wand of yours, City. Let's see where it's able to... What do wands do? They swish. They wand.
No.
They do something later. Okay. All right. We're getting into an IEBC conversation. Let's take a look at what's happening with the IEBC. For the last couple of years, there have been no commissioners at the IEBC, but the IEBC as a commission still holds. There's still a secretariat. There's still work being done. However, to have it complete, there needed to be the hiring or the bringing in of 7 commissioners, and that 7 more individuals, and that now is in the process, where we see the select committee that is working to make sure. What they've told us is that by the end of March or into the beginning of April, then it would have been constituted, and that process would be over. So that meant that you could then go into some of the activities which we would expected would have been happening anyway, since just after the last election. And when we talk about things like civic education, when we talk about voter registration and knowledge and information, such things should have been happening. We did also hear the AG come before court talking about the fact that the issue of boundaries then could not be handled because there was just not enough time between where we are now and the next election, so asking for some reprieve in terms of what could happen. So the work of the IEBC over time has been compromised to a bit of a constitutional abrogation at some point, where certain by-elections have not occurred because of the fact that, commissioners are not in place. That hasn't happened. So the questions as per whether they will happen come April then abound. Now, what has come and grabbed the attention of many that has been carried in the Standard today, Kenya's bold newspaper, is this: that the poll agency now, even without the hiring of new commissioners, has come out and has given a whopping 61 billion shilling bill in terms of what is going to be needed for the 2027 elections. And if you were wondering, it is actually the most expensive yet. Let me give you some details of that, and then we'll start to discuss, because we can hear that the IEBC will say, you know what, guys, we need 61 billion. Then you'll just go to Treasury and say, okay, you need 61 billion. Well, voila, here it is. No, it shouldn't work like that. But let me give you some details anyway. The country will require a staggering 61 billion shillings to undertake the 2027 general election, and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is now estimating this. So according to Deputy Chief Executive Officer Obadiah Kaitan, the 2027 polls, which could prove to be the most expensive yet, will be funded over the next 3 financial years, starting with the current 25-26, 26-27 and 27-28. Appearing for the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee yesterday, Kaitan said that to jumpstart the operations of the Commission, 15 billion should be availed this year. So this 25-26, you got, about a year to do that. And this was to allow for voter registration and acquisition of election technology, both software and hardware. So they're expecting essentially send money now. Included in the multi-billion shilling budget, the Deputy CEO submitted 7.04 billion shillings for the acquisition of 45,000 new Kenya integrated election management, it is otherwise known as the KIMS kit. 15.6 billion shillings for wages, yani salary, kulipa watu, and 7 billion shillings for continuous voter registration and voter verification exercise 2025, 26 and 26-27 financial years. Now, there is also 6 billion shillings required for the procurement of ballot papers, 3.61 billion for the procurement of election material. Didn't they say election material before? Okay, is another election material. 3.2 billion for stakeholder engagement. I don't know who the stakeholders and how they're being engaged, but it sounds sexy, so let's just use it.
Wow.
And then 2.7 billion shillings for training of election officials' expenses. That's not salaries. That's expenses, like
so
you got
there's wages and then there's
then there's expenses. It could be travel, such like.
Okay.
Other allocations include 2.6 billion shilling for the upgrade and maintenance of election systems, 3.8 billion shillings for transport. So this doesn't include so now I would have thought that the expenses would include transport, but now we see transport is something else.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna eat in this election to the equivalent of 1.2 billion shillings.
I assume you're referring to meals, okay?
That's not.
In Kenya when you say eat.
Meals. No, not that kind of. This was actual food in your stomach.
Good.
1.2 billion shillings. 1.3 billion shillings for the purchase of motor vehicles. Motor gari is needed. And then they're expecting that they're going to be legal petitions and risk registration. So they're going to put some 1.1 billion shillings towards that. You see, there's a roundabout.
Yeah.
You got to go somewhere, you got to eat, you got to make things happen. Kaitan told the George Murugara-led committee that the commission had been unable to ensure continuous voter registration since the last elections due to lack of commissioners. So we didn't have commissioners, couldn't do registration. Now that the committee has said that they will be commissioners by April.
They could not do what?
Sorry, sir?
They couldn't register voters because what?
So we couldn't register voters, couldn't do voter education and registration because there were no commissioners at the commission. There have been no commissioners since August 2022.
Yeah, so since 2022.
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
But I actually don't understand. So the secretariat is there. There are no commissioners, so they can't do voter registration. I can't. How do you tie? I don't tie the two.
In this 2, 1 + 1 does not equal 2.
That's what they're saying.
But anyway, go on. Please.
Let's carry on. It's tough for us to chimbua. He also revealed that the electoral agency has set aside 7 billion shillings to facilitate long overdue boundaries reviews and delimitation of boundaries, but was waiting on a court advisory on the way forward. So remember the prayer that the AG took before the court. When the court now answers the prayer of the AG, that's perhaps when now this 7 billion shillings would be used for boundary delimitation and review.
Is it the same AG that told the court that is not it's not very necessary, it's not a priority, even though the commissioners had written earlier?
No, she didn't say it's not a priority. She said there was no time. So in terms of what needs to be done now, there's no time between now and the next election to actually take it on.
Even though the commissioners had written earlier, that's what I'm driving at. The commission had driven earlier this narrative and had prayed that they actually advise on it until the last minute when she actually says it's too late and there's no time. That's what I'm driving at. For me, it felt pretty much almost intentional.
It depends on what the court will say.
Yeah.
Then we'll see if we'll spend the 7 billion shillings. Okay, so we could save 7 billion shillings, but we don't know. Notably, the delimitation of boundaries is long overdue. It was supposed to happen in March 2024. Actually, it was supposed to happen by March 2024. So it should have started way before that. And the Constitution provides that the IEBC shall review names and boundaries of constituencies at intervals of not less than 8 years and not more than 12 years. The last review was carried out in March 2012.
That's way gone.
The lack of commissioners was occasioned by the exit of former late now Wafula Chebukati and commissioners Boya Molu and Abdi Guley, whose tenures expired in January 2023. Okay, now 4 other commissioners, we know what happened, the famous Chirera 4. So on the committee yesterday, the question was, what policy decision informed this and from who? Essentially, the question was why the continuous voter registration exercise did not continue even in the absence of commissioners. Didn't need to happen. So, the IEBC Director of Legal Services, Crispin Owiye, responded that Parliament was required to first enact the referendum bill to guide the process to facilitate the conducting of 14 by-elections across the country, and the Commission expects to spend some 490 million shillings to get that done. So, this is what we have, all right? We do not have commissioners at the IEBC. We have a select committee that has been put in place to make sure that the hiring of those commissioners happens. But what we've been told here that is now grabbing public attention is that 61 billion shillings is the bill that Kenya will be slapped with. Now, let's take into consideration a number of things. Kenya has the 3rd most expensive elections on the planet after the US and India. And the question is this absolutely necessary? Let's look at some of the big ticket items that are being put through here for what needs to be done. One of them is the purchase of new Kim's kits. And I have one question. Maybe Sisi can help me because I don't understand. What happened to the other ones that they were using before? Are they spoiled, or it's like one-time use kind of thing? You use it once and it's done. You have to buy new ones?
And a bit as City Speaks, you have just remembered that there was this conversation, I think 2023, if not 2024, on what happened in the IT sector of the IEBC. Remember the laptops that they were allegedly stolen? Do you remember that conversation? Yeah. There was that, and I'm going to look it up again shortly, but there was that particular conversation around what happened in the IT department of the IEBC. This was presented still by the commission at that time, and I'm coming back to that. So maybe those particular laptops and stuff just got, tampered with and disappeared. Yeah, let me find that out. Details coming up shortly.
When you say the most expensive elections after US and India?
Yes, the 3rd most expensive in the world.
Per person?
Yes, per person. And then when you look at it per person and then in concert, it's more expensive. It's the 3rd largest per person at about $27. And then when you put all of it together, consolidate, it is still, and it takes the number 3.
So we're expensive.
Yep.
Whenever you have a department within government that has very many activities that on the face of it appear to be clearly explained and understood, and yet the activities, as they are mentioned, are generalized, and so you actually lack details by which you can then hold them to account because of the activities. For instance, if you were to ask, what is the mandate of the Secretariat?
Right.
Administrative management. Okay? It's started by a CEO. Yes, day-to-day running around operations, decisions that are made by the Commission. Okay? 2, policy implementation. Now, when you talk about policy implementation, these are things which are formulated by the Commission. This is to ensure that the mandate of the IEBC is carried out.
Yeah.
These are precursors. What I'm getting to is what I'm about to read. Operational coordination. The Secretariat coordinates various activities such as, and I'm going to read this, voter registration, electoral boundary delineation, and voter education. That is what it does. There is nowhere where it is indicated that you need to have a commission in place for them to do this.
It's even in the name of the commission.
Yeah.
Yes.
Boundaries.
Yes. So all these activities that should have been taking place right from the time we finished the previous election, there are people working there, there are people who get paid. It means, so what do they do on a daily basis? What I've just read is part of what they should be doing and planning. And if they haven't done it, then the question is, why haven't they done it? Well, they're waiting for the commission. They don't have to wait for any commissioner for them to be able to do this. Because if we take the view that the commissioners need to be in place for them to function, then every time you have an election, the entire secretariat should be scrapped.
Yeah.
Until we have new commissioners, then you get a new secretariat. But the thing is, the IEBC doesn't just conduct elections. That's the whole point.
That's right.
Exactly. Unless you're working with a volunteer base like you do in the US, and then you say that you don't know if the volunteers who worked on the US election in 2024 are the same ones who are going to work in the same in the election in 2028, and then you can scrap it. But here you have you have a secretariat. Yeah. You have a constitutional office that is put in place to get this done. So you don't have to work with people who might be here, like fair weather friends, and then not here the next time. They're there. Secretariat is there with staff, with a CEO and a deputy CEO. So actually this work can actually continue. But you see the problem? You know what we'll be told? I can bet my bottom dollar today that come 2027, in January, you'll be told we're going to do a very fast 6-month thing and see how many people we can get to register to vote.
The Russia. By the way, guys, I have come up with what I was telling you about. We're talking about why do you need these new machines? Where did they go? Now, listen. This was March 13th, I believe, 2023 to be more precise. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on that day was tasked to explain how it had lost 952 laptops and 125 biometric kits. So these were lost. 952 laptops and 125 biometric kits. You guys were asking, where did they go? All right. Now, in response, the CEO admitted that the BVR kits had been lost over time, but argued that some of the cases were still ongoing. Marjan was responding to the PAC team led by nominated MP, now of course he's a CS, John Badi, who questioned him on how such a consignment could disappear without the commission's knowledge. All right. Remember, elections about integrity and all this, etc. I was just bringing to you guys the point that there are some of these things, according to the reports that were given in 2023, which I believe there is more conclusive reports on, that were lost.
Were they replaced?
That's what we're looking at now.
No, they were not lost.
They were.
You know what? When something is lost, that means that it was here, and then you left it somewhere, and then you forgot it.
Yeah.
950 laptops or 50 don't just get lost. You don't leave them somewhere. So
it was a consignment that never arrived, isn't it?
For goodness sake.
So how did again? If you use the word lost in that, it's a misplaced description.
Marjan, you can say anything, but then you have to ask the question: these kits. Every election, there's a kit problem. Oh, they were not transmitting. Oh, they didn't do what?
There's always a problem.
Oh, yes.
Why do we have to stick to the technology if the thing is not working? Don't you see that you could cut your price in almost half and resort to manual voting?
You want to bring this conversation back again?
Yes.
Because you do realize what happened with this conversation, right? Even before 2022 elections.
The Kiniko is not working. You lose 950. How many did you buy that you lose 952? How many did you buy
because
that 952
remember,
can go
we
missing?
We still had equipment.
Yeah. How many did you buy that 952 went missing?
So if we lost 952, how many did we actually need?
How much do you actually need?
Yeah.
And do we really need them?
Well, if we had an election without them, that's why I asked, were they replaced? If indeed they were not replaced, then we didn't need them in the first place.
And then
that's it.
Second to that, is it just me or am I dreaming? Every time there's an election and then there's a returning officer who will say, oh, the transmission of the information from the KIMS kit to the system, there was a problem. Is it me? Have I heard it before?
I think you've heard it.
It happens all the time.
Okay.
Yes.
So if there is always a problem, this technology is not working. It's just, this thing we say is not working. There's always a problem. Somebody will say this didn't happen, so then that means I had to carry myself together with the Kim kit, and here we are trying to catch a bus to Nairobi so that we can find our way to bomb us. Why depend on the technology if it's not working? Resort to manual.
Let's ask the question. If you're going to buy equipment, all right, you said you want to buy it. Tell us, this equipment that you want to buy, be specific about what each and every piece of equipment is going to do, and tell us, one, the warranty we have on the equipment. Warranty meaning, for X duration of time, it will work, and should there be a problem, whoever it is who supplied us with it will what? Either replace it or repair it. Okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And tell us about the lifespan of that equipment.
Important.
Oh, yes. Everything that you buy has a lifespan.
It's true. It's true.
So tell us, how long is this supposed to last? And if you tell it it's 5 years, we'll say, is the equipment that you can buy that we have that has a lifespan of 10 years?
So we can use it
or 15,
twice,
yes,
or 3 times.
Yes, before we actually get rid of it, because it's like before people even get used to the system, you've got a new one, and then they have to get used to the new one. It doesn't make sense
to imagine.
It's like you are creating a problem in advance, because the moment you say you have new equipment, the issue of people not understanding the equipment will come up.
Of course.
So the question you're asking is, why didn't we solve the problem before it became a problem? Why didn't we just buy equipment that has a longer lifespan, a longer duration of service, so that it's something people know about? And when the time comes after 15 years, when you want to now bring in a new system, long before you actually purchase it, tell us why this particular one is the one you want, as opposed to others that could have done the same thing. Because in this technological age, you cannot tell anyone that what you bought is the only equipment that could have worked. No.
Okay.
I want to understand about these Kim's kits. I really want to know why it is necessary to buy new ones every time and spend the amount of money that they're saying they want to spend on them. For me, it is not important. It is actually important for us to understand why. And we can now move the same conversation from those Kim's kits to vehicles. What happened to the vehicles that you bought last time? Are there no vehicles at the Secretariat? What do you want to use them to do?
Okay, what were you expecting? That they're just parked there and doing nothing through this time since 2022? They're not moving at all?
Did you sell them?
Actually,
maybe they were working and then
accountability.
They broke down.
No, it's not our job. It is their job to explain to us why they want to buy new vehicles.
Exactly.
If you had vehicles, tell us these are the vehicles we had. This is what we did with them.
Okay.
And this is why now we need to get new ones.
Exactly.
It's called accountability. Look, you've made a statement. The person who pays your salary, the person who's going to fund this enterprise is saying, we have heard what you have said. Let's not start with the present. Let's go to the past, because it will inform this particular present. The equipment we had were, how many did you say? What did we use them for? Where are they? This is a question we ask.
Right.
It's a basic question. We haven't gotten into the function of the IEBC and the Secretariat. We're just saying, all these expenses that you are telling us about, get granular, please.
Okay, so now let me get granular for you just a little bit, shall I?
Yes.
Ibrahim explained that the Kim's kits become obsolete after 10 years and that the total cost of replacing them is 7 billion shillings, going by the cost of 65,000 shillings per kit. And he said that it had not registered new voters since 2022 because they do not have a budget or commissioners. That's why they didn't do that. But these Kim kits, they've been in use for 10 years. That's why they needed new ones. Leave alone the 952 that went missing. Not important.
No, leave alone.
But I'm going to stick on. We're talking about obsolete Kim kits now. That's why we need new ones.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick on the issue of the vehicles. Vehicles don't just break down.
Right?
What happened to them? And now if you want to spend the amount of money that you're saying that you want to spend on these vehicles, where is it coming from? The CS CS Treasury, John Badi, is actually going to be our guest tomorrow. And these are some of the questions that we're going to bring to him and ask, okay, so this money that you people want to spend, number one, is it justified through and through? Anki.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what you have raised, and in as far as this particular, requirements are concerned, what is still kicking, I think, should I say, my abdomen, is the fact that registration has not been ongoing, really. And I think people need to hold these guys to account as well. This secretariat or the entire body. We have so many. How many Kenyans have turned 18 since 2022? Honestly, you're not waiting for the NADCO report implementation, are you, to start voter registration? And like you said, they'll come over through media and flood here saying, remember to register. No. I think at this point in time, we should have a serious conversation. Voter registration, like Citi said, should be an ongoing process. Why are we waiting? It is 2025. 2026 is tomorrow. I want to know from those who are watching, how many have gotten a chance to actually register as voters, let alone registering as a voter? Do you have your ID card? Are you waiting for the IEBC to again give that clarion call, or do you not know where to go? Because essentially we're seeing politicians are campaigning. They are campaigning. They're going to backyards here and there saying, make sure you vote. There are people who have challenged the Gen Z saying, there's one thing to stand for the rights that you're standing for, to vote, speak out on what you're speaking about. But they're challenging the young people to actually vote. Now, I need to know how many of the young people have gotten an opportunity, one, or even the information to know that they, by now, should really be registering as voters. Are you waiting for those 10th, really?
Yeah, but
to start voting. And that is what I'm looking at. We need to make this exercise as continuous as constitutionally should be, instead of making it look like we are other people who should be on top of vehicles as politicians campaigning last minute.
How do you do it if the body that has been constitutionally put together to do it has not started?
But the chair has always been there.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's coming from them. Do you walk into the IEBC office and say, register me now?
Exactly.
Is that what you want people to do? To walk into the IEBC offices today and say, register me now to vote?
That's where they live in Kenyans. Now, the chair should explain to us what he expected of the public by now.
You know, from the time we got independence, we've had continuous elections. And the understanding is that with every passing electoral cycle, we need to have gotten better at doing this. We need to have a seamless electoral process, and we tend to. The actual process of voting and getting people to vote, that one, there's usually no problem.
No problem?
No. People go vote. In fact, people chit-chat. It's a nice, pleasant day. And in most cases, the sun is shining, so you sit and chat. Problem is immediately after we voted. Remember, one of the reasons why with the new constitution, it was instituted that the election details and the finality of it is at the what? The polling station.
Polling station, yes.
Where votes were cast. That's where you determine who won. Not at some national tallying center. No.
Because, that's a contention.
National tallying center is just a procedure that you follow. The reason why we moved into televising it, making sure that we had it digitally, was so that it could be transparent and everybody could watch. But our process, without fail, either there's been a complete darkness at some point when certain things are happening. There's, put it this way, there's always a hiccup, even with the transmission. The good thing, though, about technology is that technology tells you where the hiccup was and even who participated in it. Technology does.
Okay.
And with what we had, that technology and the details would be what you call a server.
Indeed.
Now, the question is, when we have an election this year, where is the server going to be? Because the last time it was either in Spain or Germany or some other place. Yes, exactly. and the issue of opening the server revolved around there are details we are complaining and we have a problem with. When you open the server, we can then resolve them because the digital footprints will be there. We'll be able to know what actually happened.
Seamless.
That didn't happen. So now here we are again.
Here we are again. Let's take a break at this point and maybe we'll hear from you in a little bit and we'll look at some of the comments that are coming in this morning. IEBC, why is the voter registration process not continuous? If there is one question we must answer today, it must be that one. That why do we have to wait? That the minute a new president is sworn in, you need to continue with civic education and voter registration. Remember that voter registration is just but a part of civic education.
Right.
It's one of the things that takes place as a result of that. So let's come back and look into that a little bit more. VetoFX is the platform upon which businesses, small, medium and large, are getting onto today to make sure that cross-border payments are and the hiccups of it are a thing of the past. So cross-border payments can be seamless and transactional to the point where you don't have to worry about hidden fees, you don't have to worry about high costs, you don't have to worry about any of that. VetoFX says trade across 190 countries in 49 different currencies. www.vetofx.com.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Sunny conditions at 18 in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 27 and highs of 31 in a sunny Nakuru at 17. It's sunny at 16 in Nyeri, going to highs of 28, while Eldoret at 14 is sunny with highs of 27. Mombasa sunny at 27 with Malindi sunny at 28. It's 22 and sunny in Kisumu and 22 and sunny in Kakamega. The sun is up in Kampala at 25 and Dar es Salaam is sunny at 29, while Johannesburg at 17 is sunny. It'll go to highs of 26. It's a hazy morning over Mogadishu skies at 27, while it's sunny at 17 in Addis Ababa. 27 and cloudy in Lagos with rain now at 23 in Kinshasa.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so we still continue with traffic. We're looking at what's happening in the city. Ngong Road is looking much better now as you get through it. On the Thika Superhighway, still heavy with traffic coming in from Garden City, bumper to bumper, through and through. Limuru Road is also busy. We have spots of bumper to bumper traffic, and as you get into the CBD, it's going to clog up just a little bit more. Very busy coming in from Lower Kabete towards Spring Valley, and also on Wayaki Way as you get out towards the roundabout and then onto the expressway. There's some traffic there, bumper to bumper as well. We'll deal with a little bit of traffic on Langata Road as you get towards the Nya Stadium roundabout, but that should not be too bad moving on from here. We're still in traffic out. See what happens as we come out of it. We'll talk on Spice FM. KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 22 minutes to 9 o'clock, here's a chance to remind you to grab your breakfast on the go or take a break from work or study, or even if it's sitting in traffic. Enjoy that moment with Delare yogurt in great flavors of wild berry and strawberry, lemon biscuit and pear caramel, apricot, honey and orange, chocolate chip, vanilla, with real ingredients in the yogurt that you can enjoy. Have a moment with Delare, and you can get that at many outlets around the country. And we continue with our IBC conversation this morning, and the electoral conversation, the civic education conversation, and the voter registration question. Why is it so difficult to make sure that voter registration is a continuous process? Why? Why do it in the last minute and then complain, for example, that you had 18 million registered voters, but 7 million of them did not vote? Why? Because it's a big issue that 7 million people did not vote. And it's not just a thing here. I mean, I look at the last election that happened in Nigeria, and 10 million registered voters did not vote. So it's not just voting, it's not just registering, but it's seeing the process through and through. That you shouldn't have 18 to 19 million registered voters in Kenya, and almost half of that number, a good third of that number, doesn't actually go to the ballot. And the question is why? Is it lack of understanding? Is it apathy? Is it lethargy? Is it people just, okay, you know what, finish and then let us know that you have voted a president, then we can keep this thing moving?
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it?
Because I was actually going to say those things you've mentioned, the apathy, the fatigue. You know, Kenyans are just not interested, because every time after elections, there's just something. And I think it's been more consistent since, is it 2000? Let me not talk about the dark parts, times of 2007. You don't want to awaken those, wounds. But you can imagine since then, and how the trajectory has been going. We keep spending more. If you look at how we have been spending, and now we're looking at 61 billion, it's more money, less people coming out to vote, trust deficit, and the apathy is just increasing by day. And I agree with you, Ndu, that the turnout of the voters is just going lower by the election days. I do not know if this is a concern for the electoral body as well, because if it is lack of information, over and over we've been talking about communication and information, but I'm not convinced that Kenyans really lack the communication. I think at some point as Kenyans we're just tired of this. Looks to me like a circus of we go out vote. And then, last time you talked about the transitions and having the media and all this digitalization. And what I saw, remember when the late Chebukati said, I think it was a weekend, it was a Saturday thereabout, the weekend, that streaming just stopped at the Tallying Center, the National Tallying Center. And there were concerns about why did the screens just go off? For me,
it wasn't the first time it had happened.
Trust deficit, apathy, and just fatigue.
I think there's a hangover of things that people would have expected. And I'm looking at one of the comments here that Farouk Tough says, Fungua server. And that's one of the hang-ups, that, we can talk and pontificate about these things over and over again, but there's some very basic things that we would like people to be open, transparent, and honest about. Let us know what exactly happened. Now you're telling us you want to maintain the thing this year. You're telling us that you want to buy new equipment so that you can have foolproof, transparent way of doing things. Open the one from last time, Farouk says.
Is that not the story we've always been
Farouk
told?
says open it, yeah.
But now they're friends. Oh, sorry.
She was making the case for technology. That was the whole point. The understanding was that we will now have a system that you as a citizen can audit. You can look, you can see, you can understand, and you can follow through. Now, unless someone is saying that the equipment we bought was faulty, and that at some point it failed, and that there was no human intervention in it, and even if it was faulty, when you buy equipment, whoever you buy the equipment for, there's something we refer to as are maintenance.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't manufacture that equipment in this country. We buy it, and the people we buy it from are supposed to come and give us certain guarantees. Now, the reason why these guarantees are important is because if you have a population that doubts the electoral process, they will doubt the very process of electing the leaders. They will doubt the leaders who the process tells us have been elected. So the trust deficit that you speak of will become a reality. But even though there is no education, IEBC are fortunate.
Okay.
They're very fortunate because last year the country got an education that even the IEBC could not have amounted. Unmounted. And that is what we call the Gen Z movement.
Right.
And the reason why I say this is because there's an entire new conversation that took place with regards to not just voter registration, but the actual process of voting. And the need for that process to take place and the importance of it. There is nothing that could have educated the younger population of Kenyans about what it is their role is and ought to be more than that particular period. Because it got to be understood with clarity that when you avoid that process or you don't give it the citizens it deserves, then you get leaders who you may not particularly want, but they'll be there and they'll be making decisions on your behalf, whether you like them or not. It also brought in the issue of holding those in place of leadership to account. We have focused on the politicians for the longest time, and we need to focus on other people as well. And right now, our attention is on the IEBC.
Correct.
Because lest we forget, if we do not ask the relevant questions about how our money is being spent on this equipment, which is supposed to usher in a process that is supposed to guarantee leadership into the future for this country, then the problems we have now will be minuscule compared to the problems that we may be fostering. So, the questions will continue being asked, and we expect that our employees who work in this particular sector will be kind enough to give us the information that we seek, because they are asking us to fund something, and they're asking us to fund it in amounts of money that are staggering. And we need to understand.
It's crazy.
That amount for this one election is half the budget of the Ministry of Health. Half. So, you are telling us that you want us to spend half the budget of the Ministry of Health on this exercise that will take place in one day, and the process leading to it. We have to know. And we have to be told, and we need explanation and in detail. Every bit of that process must be explained in detail. Every.
I have a concern about the delimitation of the boundaries, even though they're of the constituencies and the wards, even though they're saying it's that we ran out of time. Some even saying it's not very necessary compared to other priorities of what should be done. But look, populations are growing every day. Look at what grows within 5 years, really. And according to other political analysis or analysts, this actually has an influence in the voting pattern and how it would turn out for certain candidates. So, as far as the limitation is concerned, as we await the court's pronouncement on the matter, I personally hold the view that it is very, very important, essential. There's a reason why it is under the IEBC. There's a reason why it's constitutionally supposed to be done within a period of time. And 2027 elections are just as crucial as any other time. I would speak to the AG, at a personal level today and say whatever time we had, it's been years and we knew this was forthcoming. It's not like a wow moment, like, oops, we're supposed to do delimitation of boundaries. This is done. This is something you know. There is no excuse whatsoever to not do what ought to be done within the time that is there and then just bring it out like, oh no, we ran out of time. No, lest we forget.
I just found out something here and I want to go back to this, and I think it's very important for us to come out and look at some of these issues. So Ibrahim told the Select Committee on Justice and Justice Affairs in Parliament yesterday that they needed to purchase 45,000 new KIMS kits, right? And they said that the life of a KIMS kit is 10 years.
Yeah.
But you know what? They purchased 45,000 of them in 2022.
45,000?
Yes. Yeah.
They did? Did they use them?
The huge cost was largely... It's not whether they used them or not.
They bought them.
They bought them and they spent the money. And we have been told that the lifeline of a KIMS kit is 10 years.
Lifeline.
Has 10 years passed since 2022?
No.
Of course not.
I'm just checking because, it could be me. The huge cost was largely in part to the procurement of 45,000 KIMS kits, an increase in polling stations from 31,981 in 2013 to 40,883 stations in 2017. The Elections Act dictates that a polling station should have a maximum of 700 voters. Now, according to what is called the Average Cost Per Registered Voter Index, or the ACRVI benchmark of $5 per voter, Kenya has surpassed that by about $20 because the cost of the election in 2022 was $2,500 per voter, which was making that huge cost. And we're saying that was what in large part it was because of these KIMS kits. Now, let's look at Africa. Rwanda has had the most cost-effective election on a cost-per-voter basis. With 6.9 million registered voters in its last election, Rwanda spent $1 per voter. What's a dollar? 100 shillings. Okay? A dollar, is about 130 shillings. 1.7 takes you to about 140 bob. Kenya is at 2,500.
It is worth...
Yes.
Very nice.
It is worth noting that in the year's election, the voters list was extracted from the National Identity Database as opposed to holding voter registration exercises. A friend of mine always used to say, wait a minute, you still want me to come and register as a voter? You have my information. I voted in last election. When I come for an ID, you already have my information. Why do I have to come and do that process all again where we're saying it's going to cost money? And you want to feed people, you want to feed people with 1.2 billion shillings. Where are these people eating? Is it on election day? Is it when they are going to do this? Where are they eating this 1.2 billion shillings?
It's after the Sermon on the Mount.
After the Beatitudes are read, then we will feed you to the cost of 1.2 billion. Yeah. Where is this food being eaten? And you see, this unfortunate thing is that these are things that are hidden in plain sight, right? They come and say, because people understand, okay, fine. Because you must travel, then you must eat. Where are you going?
Have I ever eaten?
No, where are you going?
But remember also that part of the functions that the Secretariat has, or the IEBC, let's call it the IEBC,
yes,
is the delimitation of boundaries.
Exactly.
Now,
City.
when you're told that we've run out of time, do you know what you've just done? You've told the general public that the equality in representation cannot be guaranteed.
Exactly.
Populations have increased, and those populations that have increased may not get the fair representation. You're also telling them that there'll be no fairness and legitimacy. You see, this process helps to ensure that when you have an election, that election is representative of the people who actually live there or who are alive and well there. Okay? It also tells you that in terms of community representation, remember, we all have boundaries. Whether it's a village, whether it's a sub-county, there are boundaries. When you do not do this, what you've then done is you have actually removed the legitimacy that some people have in terms of expectation for the services they must receive, because they will actually not be adequately represented. Okay? Then lastly, there is something that when we did our budgeting and we had our counties, we came up with. It was called an equalization fund.
Right.
Part of the reason why it came about was because it was understood certain counties, certain regions of this country had for the longest time been marginalized, plain and simple, and they needed to catch up. Okay? Now, if we've had this situation. Are we saying it has disappeared? No, it hasn't. Are we saying that if you do not go through this process, then no harm will be caused? A lot of harm will be caused. Because if I was marginalized before and the population of our region has increased, what it means is when money is being allocated, it will be allocated to us given the numbers that we have or given the circumstances that have now changed. If the delimitation doesn't take place, then that isn't a consideration. What I'm saying here is this. We actually have a situation here where the Constitution is being challenged. Fundamental rights that are brought about by that process of delimitation will not be achieved. What are the legal implications?
Right. And
what are the legal implications? Because my mind goes to this point. If indeed there are legal implications, then can we therefore say that if we have an election in 2027, it will not be a legitimate election? Because part of the process that legitimizes an election is when certain processes and procedures have been met. Now, if this hasn't been met, what will you be saying about the 2027 election?
Even if the review were to take place and the review team were to come back and say, well, everything here has been reviewed and we want to maintain status quo, that in itself is all right. But by virtue of the fact that you did not carry out that exercise, it removes any kind of surety that you would get as to whether the process thereafter then is legitimate. It does, because then you have to ask yourself, okay, so then what would have happened if you actually did do it? And we're not talking about something that was supposed to have been done 2 months ago. The process was supposed to have started in 2013. 2013. It was supposed to have been completed by 2024 because you have 12 years. You have 12 years to actually do it. 12 years.
12 years. Just over here, over there. You know? And coming from the highest office, legal office of the Attorney General.
This actually is not within the purview of the Attorney General.
No, legal advice.
The Attorney General is the legal advisor, and at some point they're going to need to advise. But you see, even if you make it granular and talk about the rights of the people in this country, given that our population has this habit of always increasing now, 5 years down the line, this population has increased tremendously.
Absolutely.
When we had these provisions within our constitution, we understood the population and the understanding of the sizes has to do with the representation. Representation has to do with now people receiving the equity and equality that is actually their fundamental right as citizens of the country. Now, when you deny them that, and you say you're going into a process that is enabling them to actually elect new leaders, this process hasn't been completed. So what are you saying? The rights of these people have been interfered with. So you want to have a process where an illegality has already occurred. So you then bring into question the legitimacy of that particular process.
Again, you know, just listening through, it just hit me that the reason why this dragged and we got into NADCO conversations in the committee and now settling into how to actually put together the IBC commissioners, there has been concern of political interference with an independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. I am just begging myself to understand how independent the IEBC is and just drawing from the legitimacy and how Kenyans have been raising concerns about it. I am not pessimistic, like I said earlier on, but I should raise questions. Now we have put together a selection panel. Hopefully, then this one time we will have the political, side comfortable and
pause.
Because really we can't go through this over and over.
Politicians are as mobile and as fluid as water and air when it comes to whether they'll be happy. It is, you see,
they can't drag the nation with it.
We have to go beyond that and ask, when we have a constitution, it's so that it must be followed.
Yes.
So are we in tandem with our constitution?
No, we are not.
That is what is important.
We are not.
Yes. So if we are not, then going forward, we are saying, what exactly have we set in motion?
60 years
all
later.
These delays, all these things we've done, what have we set in motion?
There's a problem, and sadly, if we don't take it as seriously as it's posing, then we're going to continue being in this whole cyclical nature of this thing, whereby it's going to be 61 billion now, and we're spending money on, because think about it now, there is no sufficient voter registration and education that you're going to do 2 years to. Remember that you have and this is just from statistics and just at the way they work, that because you have 1 million people, 800,000 to 1 million people entering into a different age bracket. Just look at that you have 800,000 people, students writing an exam in 1 year. Just move that number up every year. So you have another 800,000 people getting into the voter registration or the voter education brackets every year. So from 2022, let's just start from 2022.
Right.
So you had an extra million by December when they finished writing their KCSE. Because remember, the election took place in August.
So they didn't vote.
So they didn't vote. So they got into that bracket in 2022 December, right? We went into another year in 2023, and by the end of 2023, we were still writing KCSE. And you had another lot who joined. So now we are at 2 million. 2024, we had yet another lot.
Of course.
We had 3 million.
We had 3 million. 2025, which is what we are here, we will have another lot.
Yes.
Because we are still writing KCSE, Nespa. 4 million. 2026, we will have another lot. 5 million. You mean to tell me that those, because we're talking about those between the ages of 16 to 20 who are finishing high school and have not, number one, maybe not gotten IDs,
right?
Obviously have not registered, have not had any intimate knowledge of the voting process or the electoral process, just know that people go to vote. You want to tell me that now is when you want to start running about and you want to educate, you want to inform, and you want to communicate to these folks in 2 years.
The millions.
And you want to say that it's going to be done and done properly. And the reason why you didn't start, see the thing that you advocate for, why does voter registration education have to take place after you finish school? Why can't we have that kind of information that is passed on throughout? By the time you're getting into lower secondary,
you know about it.
You know what's happening. So that by the time you've written that last exam KCSE, you know that even as you're proceeding on holiday and your parents are taking you to get your ID, you already know that with this ID also, what am I going to be able to do with it as part of a country? Why do we wait until they finish and then now you want to start talking to them?
And somehow that would even save us the money, some of the money that we're putting aside here for voter education. If anything is to go by, just put it in the curriculum and make sure it is inculcated in people over and over. I mean, I like the idea in the studio right now. Just start that thing from the beginning and stop rushing people towards the end and using it as an excuse to have a system, know who to tick and who to put X on.
We have a lot of work to do, and I hope that some of these things are actually really taken into consideration and the conversation cannot stop. Good morning. Getting into more conversations about morals. We'll do that when we come back after 9. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Muga, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, has said that the Gema Community Alliance has a strong potential to win the presidency in 2027 if their leaders speak with one voice. Speaking in interviews with Ukambani stations, Gachagua said they've already spoken to Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and have agreed to unite politically.
Na pia tunakuwa na mpango mzuri. Sisi vile tumeungana na watu ya Ukambani, hakuna vile tunaweza shindwa. Sisi tukiunganisha ya Ukambani na ile yetu, watu sasa ya Gema, Gikuyu, Embu, Meru, Akamba, kwa sababu hiyo ni muungano tumetengeneza ya kiutamaduni na tunataka tuipindue ikuwe ya kisiasa. Tutafaulu na njia kubwa sana, na wakati ni sasa. Yangu ni maombi, msimame nyuma ya kiongozi wenu na muungane na mumushikilie, kwa sababu kiongozi anafaulu kwa sababu ya kushikiliwa.
He said that former Prime Minister Raila Odinga should ensure that he makes a sober political decision that will benefit him in the future.
Sisi hatumwelewi Raila Odinga, na nimesema juzi nilikuwa na interview. Hatujui vile anataka. Na tunangojea tuwe msimamo ndio tujue vile tutakaa na yeye. Kama ataamua kuchafua legacy yake ya miaka hii yote na kuunga Rais William Ruto mkono, hiyo ni haki yake. Na sisi hatuwezi mzuia. Lakini hiyo haina shida yote. Kwa sababu zile kura alikuwa nazo, ndani yake iko kura mingi sana ya Kalonzo Musyoka. Hiyo itakuwa imeondoka. Pale Kisii imeondoka. Pale kwa Mlima alikuwa na kura 1.1 imeondoka.
At least 4 people drowned separately in incidents that were reported to police. The bodies of the victims were collected from separate rivers and waters in Migori, Kericho, Makueni and Busia counties. The first incident saw the body of one James Hero discovered in a stream after suspected drowning. Police said the body was spotted by locals in the car wash area and moved to the mortuary pending autopsy. In Lydiah, Kericho County, a body was found floating on River Kiptui after a suspected drowning. The body was later identified as that of Collins Mutai, a teacher at a local school. Police said in Mukuyuni, Makueni County, a 12-year-old girl died after drowning in a family borehole. The girl slipped into the borehole as she fetched water and drowned. In Nambale, Busia County, a 42-year-old woman drowned in a stagnant pool of water after she fell there. And elsewhere in Aram, Siaya County, a man was attacked and killed by a crocodile while fishing alone. Senior Deputy Director, Ministry of Health, Dr. Sultan Matenjachero says for universal health coverage to work, then Social Health Authority has to work. He adds that the Finance Bill 2024 was going to help raise funds for SHA, but when it was rejected, it had a negative effect on the primary health care, which the government is meant to pay for.
When we were now looking at being able to raise the money that should go into primary health care and these other funds that we are talking about, we all know what happened in June, the finance bill. It failed. So that finance bill, that instrument that failed, is the one that was supposed to raise this money. And you remember, the biggest complaint was that now we are overtaxing people. But the truth is, it was necessary to overtax so that we can raise these resources. Because if you are talking about, say, 70 billion additional to go into just primary healthcare, you really need to find ways of raising that money. So when it failed, we were not able to move the primary healthcare. We were not able to move with the other chronic and critical illness fund.
And finally, 2 suspected thugs were shot and killed in a botched robbery incident after a brief chase by police on Outer Ring Road in Nairobi. The police said the men were riding on a motorbike at the time of the incident, adding that a third suspect managed to escape. The gang had been riding from the Allsops area targeting pedestrians for valuables, including mobile phones and cash. Police said 2 homemade guns capable of firing, 1 loaded with a bullet and a mobile phone, were recovered from the slain men. That's the News Wire. I'm Lea Obaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Running a business in Kenya and struggling with slow, expensive cross-border payments? With Verto, you can send and receive money globally, faster, cheaper, and hassle-free. Pay suppliers, collect payments, and expand internationally with ease. 49 currencies, 190 plus countries. One powerful platform. Better rates, faster settlements, secure transactions. Global payments made easy. Sign up today at www.vertofx.com. Verto, your global business payments partner.
Some days just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments. Just moments. Maybe even a few Because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delare.
Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delare real fruit yogurt. Indulge in the moment.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 9:07 and we are getting into the final conversation for this hour and also for this morning. Kenya's biggest conversation. We've been with you from 6 a.m. and we continue into CT and Anki Dorice this morning as we get into that next conversation. CT, for the last time this morning, tell us what it is that we can do when getting a mortgage.
Okay. I'm going to talk in staccato.
Okay.
Do you want to buy a house?
Yes.
Do you want to own a house?
Yes.
Are you employed? Are you self-employed? Are you in the diaspora? Do you want a mortgage that charges you a single-digit interest of 9% for 10 years? Or one that will charge you 9.75 interest for 25 years? Do you want a mortgage that guarantees that there are no hidden costs and that you will not be penalized should you pay ahead of the scheduled payment? Do you want a mortgage, or are you interested in a mortgage that will look into what you have and mirror it against what you need and come up with a solution that will suit you to near perfection? Well, look no further. Diamond Trust Bank is saying visit any branch that they have or simply write to them, mortgages@dtbafrica.com, and every question that I have asked or raised will be responded to in a way that will meet your needs.
Beautiful stuff. There you go. And that's the way to get into it this morning. And also, if you do run a business, if you have been in the business world, whether it is a small, medium or large business, Veto FX is saying, you know what? We don't have to worry about the things that bedeviled or plagued you in the past. What you need to concentrate on now is how you can actually move your business from one point to the next. Cross-border payments should not be an issue or should not be a thorn in your flesh, because you can now do seamless transactions across 190 countries in 49 different currencies and don't have to worry about long downtime. You don't have to worry about hidden costs or, huge charges. All you need to say is, this is what I want to do, one country to the next, bada bim, bada boom, get it done, and we move. Get more information on www.vetofx.com. All right, we're getting into this next conversation today, and our guest is seated. He is the CEO and Institute of Certified Secretaries. His name is Jeremiah Karanja, and he's here with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
Very well.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
All right, so we're getting into a conversation today, and we're looking at a number of things. Ethical leadership and good governance. We're looking at renewing and restoring trust, morals, and securing the future. Many contexts upon which this conversation can be had. But before we get into that, CT is going to welcome you with today's proverb, right? A little bird told me that you were looking forward to that. So then you can tell us what you think about it and how you would interpret it.
Okay.
All right.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Mali. Okay?
Yes.
The kitchen is older than the mosque.
The kitchen is older than the mosque.
Yes.
I think you first have to feed the stomach, even before you start thinking of other issues. First, deal with the basics of people. You could be thinking of very big projects, very big strategies. But if you have not addressed the basic thing, that is the food, the stomach, then even where you are taking them to pray, they may not be able to pray.
Well, there you go. Quite simply so, indeed. Okay, so we're looking at some very sticky issues, aren't we? When we talk about ethical leadership and good governance, before we talk about the restoration of certain things when it comes to morals and trust and securing the future. Let's just do a broad definition of when we say ethical leadership and good governance. What are we talking about? We throw those words around all the time. And we say, yeah, we should have good governance. We must have ethical leadership. We must have ethical leaders. And we must have, we say it all the time. Well, from your perspective, what are we saying?
Thank you. When we talk about ethical leadership, we are looking at value-based decision making. That each and every decision you are making is based on certain fundamentals of certain values. For instance, when you talk of values, you are talking things like you are transparent, you are fair, you have integrity, and therefore any decision I'm making, I'm basing on that. But also secondly, we are also looking at the back of your mind, you should have the public good over your personal interest. And therefore, any decision that comes before you, you are first looking at, if in my capacity as the CEO of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, I'm looking at what is the best for my organization, for the society, and for my stakeholders, before I think on what should I benefit as Karaja. That is what ethical leadership is all about. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you determine what is good, right, wrong, not right? How? Beyond the Constitution?
Yeah, people have various lenses through which they determine what is good and right. And because I'm a believer and a person of faith, I want to give maybe from a biblical perspective. Similarly, if you belong to any other religion, you can put it from your own religious background. And I would say, for instance, from the Bible, there is this story of a gentleman called Cain and another one called Abel. Cain brought a sacrifice to God. Abel similarly brought one. The one for Abel was accepted. The one for Cain was rejected by God. Cain was very angry. And God approached Cain and asked him, if you did what is right, won't your sacrifice also be accepted? Or if you do what is right? The interesting part in that conversation, God never told Cain what the right thing was. Neither did Cain ask God, what do you mean that if I do what is right? So God, as the creator, has put in us something that tells you what is right and what is wrong. So every human being, whenever you are doing whatever you are doing, at the back of your mind, something tells you, you may call it conscious, you may call it whatever you may call, but something tells you, inside you, what I'm doing is right. Now, what happens in human beings is that sometimes we, despite that strong urge telling us, stop doing it, you continue and do it anyway. So over time, when you continue disregarding your conscience, which is telling you what is the right thing to do, over time, they become part and parcel of you, such that you no longer feel it. If it's somebody who is involved in murder or killing other people, they kill the first one. The first instance, they know there is something wrong. But as they continue doing it over and over, they feel nothing because their conscience has died. I think that's how I would describe the issue of good or right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this applies across board, but then specifically today we talk about governance and leadership. So then the rights then essentially has to be done by good leaders, from what you're saying. So how do we know that then good leadership is not being practiced or exemplified?
We, again, based on the same book I referred to earlier, the Bible, it says, you shall know them by their fruits.
Right.
You don't need to tell us you are doing the right thing. We actually see by our own eyes. And there is always results. I think these countries, some years back, we are told that choices have consequences.
Right.
You can make a choice on the action to take, but you cannot choose the consequences. The consequences come automatically. If I decide to eat, I don't choose whether I will be full or not. Automatically, I get full because that's how, those are the principles of nature. And therefore, what is right and what is wrong, we see it reflected by what is happening. For instance, I would say in governance, we say there are 4 major pillars of governance, or the 4 P's of governance. One of them is the purpose. For instance, what is the purpose if you are establishing an organization like this? Why are you establishing it in the first place? What do you want to do with it? In the case of a nation, that is determined in the constitution and other laws. Then we have the people. These are the people who will be implementing that, but also the stakeholders at various value chain stages. But also we have the processes that you are going to use to achieve the purpose. But most importantly, at the end, you want performance, because there is a specific reason why you established this organization. Now, when there is a challenge in governance, you find problems throughout these 4 P's. You have the purpose could be very clear, but because the people are doing the wrong thing, then they are not following the right processes, and therefore you will not get the purpose, you will not get the end results. So in the case of a nation, we may have a good constitution, said is one of the best in the world, but we as a people, for some reasons, we have decided not to do the right thing.
Okay.
And when we decide not to do the right thing, then we don't follow the right processes in whatever we want to achieve. And for that reason, it doesn't matter how many things we may do, the workshops we may hold, the conferences we may do, we will not get the end result. That is the purpose. That is the performance. You will not get the end result because the process you've used is wrong. The people have decided to do the wrong things.
All right, let me just seek the guidance of a dictionary, saying that morality is principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong, or good and bad behavior. Some go further to define it as the extent to which an action is right or wrong. But if I go to the streets, you'll have arguments that right and wrong are relative. Now I'm looking at it as far as governance is concerned. You've seen the back and forth that citizens have had with the government, of the day, or the different administrations over the years. What electorates feel is wrong, the government would say is right for now. And we have the constitution and the law, but you've also seen judges who set precedents based on how they interpret certain laws. I'm a bit confused here in what really is right and wrong. And I know that we also have our national values as a country, all this enshrined. But now as a citizen who is just stuck in the middle of what is good for the electorate vis-a-vis what the government feels is right. Because you wouldn't say we have poor governance, is it? If what the government, according to its understanding, is right for the country.
Without maybe going to the philosophy of it, which I spent some years studying on some of those issues of morality. Without going to the philosophy, maybe I want to approach it from a more practical perspective and say, in our case as a country, the laws are there, the constitution is there, defining what we need to do as a nation. There is no one who would steal resources from the public coffers and argue that according to them, that is right, because it's clearly indicated there. But also, as I said earlier, this country, by the way, we pride ourselves that majority of us are Christians. So every Sunday, we go to church. And the book which we ascribe to has certain parameters of determining what is right and what is wrong. And of course, stealing is not one of the issues that you would say that you are not very sure whether. So people don't do the wrong thing because they don't know is the wrong thing. People want to engage in that debate that right and wrong is relative just for philosophical arguments. But in reality, everybody knows what the right thing is. We just decide not to do it. And therefore, we don't do the wrong thing out of ignorance. We do it knowingly and willingly.
How does a people, and this is collective, is it possible to separate a people from its leadership when we then talk about morality, when we talk about good governance, when we talk about proper leadership? Because I think that across board, everybody's a leader in one place or another. Can you divorce the people from leadership when it comes to this right and wrong and good that we are talking about?
From the 4 P's of governance I described earlier, that is the purpose, the people, the process, and what was the 4th one?
Oh, okay.
And the performance, the results. You see, the people there actually represent both the leadership and also the followers. It is impossible to separate the two because the leaders come from people. We are the ones who put those people, those leaders, in those offices, and they serve at our pleasure. Whether that again is philosophical or reality, but rather it is the truth. We are the ones who elect them. So the reason why, because there is no member of parliament, there is no MD, there is no CEO who come from the mass. They come from the same Kenyans. And therefore, unfortunately, even if you remove those ones who are still in office, unless we deal with the people, because the reason why we get wrong persons in the offices they hold is because the place where they are coming from is already rotten. So we need to deal with that because the people are the ones who produce leaders. Leaders come from the people, but also we elect them, and some of them, we elect them knowing very well that they are corrupt, they are bad, but because they have given us some money, 50 shillings, we anyway make the decision of electing them. Yeah.
You know, the issue of morality, especially when it's just a point of discussion or a philosophical discussion, it's interesting insofar as it titillates the mind. You know, your mind is tickled and you exercise it in trying to look at the wherefores of the subject of morality. But when you find yourself in a country like ours where you have a constitution that is second to none, and everything you see around you in terms of political leadership and leadership in other spheres as well seem to make a mockery of that constitution because it's like it never existed. And yet you realize that perhaps the existence of that constitution was to set something well in place, something that would be aspirational, something that one could always look forward to achieving. What then does one do when those whom you have entrusted to ensure the implementation it for the eventual better good being served for all the citizens, and you find that they are the people who seem to try their utmost to ensure that they abrogate the very thing that they swore to conserve, to obey, and this is my interpretation, and to implement? What then does one do?
It requires courage, and which unfortunately majority of us don't have that courage.
Where can I go and buy it?
So unfortunately you generate it from yourself. So there is a story given of this king who was very harsh with his subjects. And one guy came up with a scheme. He wanted to have the king humiliated. And he said, I can make a very expensive cloth for you, king, because the king wanted to look good before his subjects.
Yes.
And this person came and told the king, just remove all the clothes you have because I have made imaginary clothes for you.
Imaginary?
Yes, imaginary. According to, and no one else can, everybody can see, but the people who cannot see, they have a problem. And they have a problem with you as a king. So they need to die if they cannot see the clothes that I'm giving you. So the king removed all the clothes, and this magician put some clothes, or imagined that he was putting some clothes on the king. And the person who was the closest advisor to the king, of course, looking at that, could not see the cloth, but for fear of the king, he said, you are extremely smart. All his advisors told the king, you are extremely smart, for fear that should we say he is not clothed, then our neck will disappear. So he went to the crowd, and the crowd were astonished. Our king is coming out naked. So there is always this challenge of who will tell the king that is naked. Unfortunately, most of us as leaders, whether it's myself as a CEO in the institution I lead, sometimes I surround myself with people who just tell me what I want to hear. So that even when I'm not upholding the morality you have mentioned, the people around me, because they want favor from me, they just want to tell me the way I'm looking good. But everybody else out there can see what you are doing is wrong. So that's why I said it calls for courage. It calls for courage for people to tell the leaders what you are doing is actually wrong. You are on a path to self-destruction, even as you destroy the society, even as you destroy the company or the organization that you are leading.
Now, building that, shaping our mindsets. I think a lot of this is inward, right? Someone made a joke once and said, when it comes to the Kenyan culture of corruption and bribery, you taking the bribe is part of being part of that criminal activity and giving it as well. But look at this instance where it was, I don't know if it was a joke or if it's funny anyway, that right from our childhood you're told, chukua hii nitakupea hii. And I just want to see how that translates in what we're inculcating in our culture, because we boast of national values in our own constitution, but looking at what translates into our adulthood, I don't know what you'd say in that regard, because we are the same people who are leaders tomorrow. We are the same person, like you're the CEO. You came from a family. President Uhuru Kenyatta, just towards his end of his tenure, he spoke about the family unit and how much it held within itself. Now look at that small Kenyan and the character and the inculcation we're giving into them, what we call, do we even have a Kenyan culture? But anyway, we do. What we grow into, and saying this needs to change at this point. I mean, because I'm the same electorate. When I turn 18, we're talking about the IBC, we'll be voting. But what have you instilled in them that translates into the leaders you're seeing? Because you said we're a reflection. The leaders are a reflection of the people. When does this change? How does it change?
Unfortunately, one of the challenges we have is role modeling. We lack good role models, and good people are there. We have very many good people. It's only that sometimes they don't come out. And most of the time what we see from the media, in the society, everything is, like now, just giving an example, if you look at what is happening between the county government of Nairobi, KPLC and all that. So what does that say to that young Kenyan? When I'm driving and along the way I'm stopped by a policeman and I give 100 shillings in bribe, what does that say to my child? And would I have any moral authority later on to tell them bribing or receiving bribe is wrong? We normally say in unethical practices or in corruption, there are three major players. We call them the unholy trinity. One, you must always have the government or somebody in government involved. You must have the private sector. That could be a business person. And you must have a professional involved. So even in what you are describing, the issues of corruption and ethical practices, you actually see they are aided. There is a private citizen in there who is either giving the bribe to get a business tender or contract or something. There is a government officer who either is supposed to enforce a certain law but is not enforcing because he has received something. But there is also a professional there working out the details to ensure this is well covered. You have not broken, quotes and quote, the law, notwithstanding that is unethical, because there are many ways of working around the law. So that is a challenge we have as a society. And you have asked then how do we get out of it? I think it's not all lost. We still have an opportunity because the topic you have raised, the last thing you talked about, securing the future. we still have an opportunity of securing the future of this country, because if we don't change, we don't have a country. So we still have an opportunity trying to inculcate these values right even in our education system, right from the beginning all the way up. But also, I hope one day as Kenyans we will get tired and know that where we are driving this nation, where we are driving institutions, is not sustainable. When you look at the cost of corruption, it's very high.
Yep.
It increases the cost of doing business, and therefore investors are running away from this country because it's not sustainable, it's not profitable for them. It is resulting to collapse of organizations. In the media, there have been a lot of institutions of late which have been collapsing because of poor governance, and so many other ills to the society. And all this, what it's leading to is more poverty and other related consequences.
Right.
So I hope one day, as at our individual levels, at the leadership level, we will soon realize that what we are doing is not good for us, is not good for the society.
Bringing back and renewing trust and renewing hope is one of the big things that we often say, well, we can see where the problem is, but we must also point ourselves in the direction of a solution. And the conversations that we have here is always to say, okay, well, this is the problem. We've established that. Where is the solution? Let's take a break and come back and look at what some of those solutions would be and how we actually do come to the place where we can start to restore the trust back into the hearts and minds of people. Jeremiah Karanja is the CEO of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, and we're having a conversation and we want to maybe allow you to take a break with Delare right about now. And Delare is a great option for you to have an moment where you can take a break, breakfast on the go, after work, stressed. We're going to give you the option of the wild berry this morning. An moment with Delare yogurt with real fruit in its yogurt, and giving you opportunity to take a break with that at any of your outlets around Kenya, but enjoy that on the break.
Thank you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Running a business in Kenya and struggling with slow, expensive cross-border payments? With Verto, you can send and receive money globally, faster, cheaper, and hassle-free. Pay suppliers, collect payments, and expand internationally with ease. 49 currencies, 190 plus countries. One powerful platform, better rates, faster settlements, secure transactions, global payments made easy. Sign up today at www.vertofx.com. Verto, your global business payments partner.
There's something magical about finding the place you call home. The place where every laugh echoes, every meal feels like a celebration, and every day brings new memories. A home where milestones matter, such as birthdays, anniversaries, family dinners, and all the moments in between that make life special. At DTB, we understand that a home is not just an address. It's the place where you build your life. With an interest rate as low as 9% and up to 105% financing, own your dream home with DTB. You can call us on 0719 031 888 or email us on mortgages@dtbafrica.com or visit our website at www.dtbafrica.com. DTB. Bank with us. Bank on us.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
25 minutes to 10 o'clock and continue with our conversation this hour. But you know what? A million people, 1 million people get into the job market every year. Do they have the skills that they need, all of them at one time, to be able to make it from point A to point B? Sadly not. Not everybody has the skills that they require to make the connection after school and then getting into work. And so there's an opportunity for them to make that connect of skill through the KCB Foundation's 2 Jejuri program. They've been doing it for a while. while now, with 155,000 young people between the ages of 18 and 35 have already been impacted by this program. There are folks who've gone into automotive engineering. There are folks who've gone into design. There are those who've gone into masonry, construction, IT skills across board. And what this has done is that it resulted in skilled folks who are then able to come into the job market or into the business world with then a little bit of a boost up from the KCB Foundation and being able to get maybe some funds to start a business or the skills that you need to now start a job. That has happened and it continues. You can find out more information about this at the www.kcbgroup.com/foundation. I'll say that again, www.kcbgroup.com/foundation. Our conversation continues this morning with Jeremiah Karanja, who's the CEO of the Institute of Certified Secretaries. And we're looking at, okay, so we've gone through a place whereby there's been lost hope. There's been the cancer of poor leadership and lack of good governance. But we're saying, okay, we've seen that. And even though we continue to see it every day, what are the chances of us going to a place where this morality can be restored, where hope can be restored and even renewed? How and what do we actually do?
I would say trust is the currency of leadership. And as the currency of leadership, you build trust by constant deposits. Now, if you withdraw and over-withdraw your deposits, then you have what we call trust deficit as a leader. So if you get to that position of trust deficit, that's what we are talking about today, where people have lost trust in some of us who are holding leadership positions. So the question therefore you ask is, how can we restore that trust? It takes a lot of efforts to build trust through consistent deposits of the good things, the ethics, the values that we talked about earlier, consistently depositing them. It takes just 1 second to overthrow that and you lose the trust with the people. And you don't have to tell people, trust me, because we should trust is earned. We trust you because you have built trust consistently over time. However, once the trust is lost within that fraction of a second, there is still hope that you can still rebuild that trust.
Yeah.
It's only that the process of rebuilding it may take a little longer and it may be very painful. You may require to take a bit of sacrifices for you to rebuild that trust. There is a parable that Jesus gave of a guy called the prodigal son. He lost trust with his father and he demanded, give me all what belongs to me. He went and did whatever he did in a foreign country. But while he was there, he realized his mistakes and reasoned, aren't there servants in my father's house? What if I harbored myself and went back to my father and asked for forgiveness? And that's what he did. And he regained that trust. In fact, the father did a very big celebration just to celebrate his lost and found son. So you need first to swallow that pride and realize that I have messed up. If I was the CEO entrusted with the Institute's resources, I have put my heart where I was not supposed to put. Instead of just defending myself and justifying my actions, I need first to own up what I have done and appreciate that actually what I have done is wrong, and also be ready to face the consequences, because by just apologizing, that does not mean that you will not face the consequences. And I think that is the gap we are having in Kenya, where people can do anything they want, they can, and they just go scot-free. They should get to a position where they face the consequences of the year. If we do that, then we will regain trust from the public. Final example I want to give is of another king. He was called David. He went, messed up, and slept with somebody else's wife. But unfortunately, he tried to cover up, did a number of other things, including killing the husband so that he can cover up. But eventually, David was able to restore that trust. And again, it was through accepting what he had done and repenting. But that did not remove necessarily the consequences. In fact, a very harsh judgment was passed against him by God, and which he had to suffer. So as a nation, we must ensure that it's very painful for people who are abusing the public trust. And if we do that, then we are able to restore that trust. But without consequences, then people continue doing whatever they are doing, knowing there is nowhere you are going to take them.
Wow. Do you think that people will get to that place where they're morally indicted to then say, actually, you know what? The people of Kenya have trusted me to do something and I've messed up, and let me come back on my own. Do you, if you're going to use the example of David, do you think you can get to that point whereby folks are actually saying, okay, I messed up, let me see how I can fix it, really?
This is not only a problem in our country, but maybe largely in our region, that is African region. Quite a number of our nations are suffering from the same, where you have leaders who have messed up, and they continue insisting they want to stay in their positions, fight to the last, and they are using public money even to fight in courts of things that everybody can clearly see what they did is wrong. So what I think, and I think this is more of a wish, and I hope it will come true very soon, is that at one point, because what we are doing is not sustainable. When you talk about governance, one word is very important: sustainability.
Right.
Sustainability is thinking about tomorrow. What I'm doing today, will I have an organization tomorrow if I continue doing whatever I'm doing? What we are currently doing is not sustainable. And to some extent, when you look, people are saying, now this year Trump has happened. And one of the things that, of course, we can see direct effect is even the cut of aid and all that. I think one of the challenges we have also had is these foreign aid, which sometimes have also been used in African countries, used by foreigners to come and, I would say, quote unquote, bribe our leaders. And you find sometimes it's not very, I know that can be a very metabolism subject. However, foreign aid has its own implication on governance of a country.
All right.
So we also need to, as we proceed, as we progress, and as nations, other nations, foreigners continue to tighten, because some of them are also demanding for us to invest in your country, for us even to give you that aid. We need to see certain parameters of good governance put in place. As that continues, then you find as a nation, as a leadership, we have nowhere to go. We have to fix our own problems, because if we can get to a place whereby you mess up with the education system, you mess up with the health sector, even yourself and your children have nowhere to go. So you still face the same institutions that you have messed up. So I wish we can get to that place. That is the only time that you say as a leader, because I'm suffering like the rest, then I have to. But as long as I'm able to escape the consequences, and I leave the rest facing the consequences of my actions, then I have a safe haven where I can hide. Then unfortunately, we will be this for a bit longer.
Do I hear you to be saying that when friendly countries give us aid or grants, that of necessity they don't mean well for our country, that the only purpose is to try and bribe our leaders?
Not all. We have very good, and even as an institute, we work with donors and partners. They are very good partners and donors. But I also am aware there are also other donors and partners who come in African continent not because they are interested in the sustainability of the society, but for their own interests as a country. And one of the questions we must always be asking, why would we as Kenyans pay taxes, our hard-earned money, and go and maybe give to another country? What is the deal there? So those are, I did my first degree was in political science. And one of the things we delved in is the political economy. At the global level, those are the political calculations countries make. You want to influence another country, and therefore one of the tools you use is aid. So not all aid is bad. There are people who actually genuinely want to help, just like maybe some of us are helping your relatives are here and there. And you are doing it from a genuine, you just want to support.
True.
But we also are aware there are other partners who have not very clean motive.
But I don't understand. This is what I don't understand. They are clear about their motives. Are we clear about why we receive the money? And how is it that somebody whose motives may not necessarily be good or clear, how is it their fault that their motives are not clear? That's their motive. That's what they intend to do. Okay?
It's theirs.
It's theirs. They're clear. They want to influence. They want to bribe. They are clear. Okay? Now.
And we know.
Yes. Now, if there's that clarity, how is it that their fault? Do they force our leaders to take money? No. From what I have observed over time, we're bound to go to them and to say we need. Isn't it? There's some who say we can help you with this. You seem to have a problem with water. We have an entity that, and again, you studied political economy. It will tell you also that part of the reason they do that is to also expand the market of their industries. If I help you with water, and the guarantee that it's an arid area and want to make it reach the person who's furthest from the source, they'll be piping. Where do you think these pipes are going to come from?
It's going to come from.
Yes, okay. And at some point they'll require repairs, won't they?
Yeah.
And they'll be at another area. So this is a reality that we live with in the world. The problem seems to be us. We are the ones who seem to be slow to catch on. We don't seem to be clear in learning and understanding that whenever you see someone doing what they're doing and it benefits them, why don't you imitate it and do something that benefits you and your people also? Because the businesses of the countries that help us with these things benefit immensely. You know full well that when someone talks about aid, it's not as though they just give you cash money. No, they give you equipment, they give you personnel. And these personnel are paid by this same money that they've given you. The equipment they've given you are part of the total sum that is given to you. And that equipment will require repairs, won't it? And where do you think you're going to go for the repairs? So what I'm saying is, I think our biggest problem is we don't know how to look after our own interest.
I think it goes back to where we started, the issue of ethical leadership. It's the same debate we keep on having as a continent about the effect of colonization 50, 60, 70 years down the line. We are still blaming the West because of our problems. And yet there are other regions in the world which were colonized
as well,
just like us, and they have managed to move away from. So it is still boils down to that same problem. However, the reason why, because sometimes, as human beings, we are very good at pointing others. And it is said as you point others for pointing at you. And even as a country, we are very good at pointing the leadership, but we are also not very quick in asking what is our contribution as citizens to the mess that we are finding ourselves in.
We've now gotten to the heart of the matter.
So if we answer that, if at individual level, I answer that, what is my contribution and what do I need to do? Then that will resolve the issue. But the problem is I do a lot of capacity building as an institute. We do a lot of capacity building and trainings for various institutions, government, private, circles, NGOs and all that on matters governance. And every place, at every cadre of leaders you talk to, they always tell you about the leaders. And so at one point you ask, who are the leaders? Who are these people who are called? Who is government? Because even if you are talking to government, they tell you, the government is...
of the people.
Yes.
By the people.
Yes, so The problem is what we started with is the morality in the society. That is the challenge we have as a people. We need to have a place where we are getting to a reset button and realize that whatever you are doing is not good for us and for the society.
Now, that said, I am coming to a point of, you spoke about trust, and from the little that I know, in order to rebuild that trust and even to build trust whatsoever from whichever level, there's need for communication and very, very importantly, understanding. Because I could say one thing, but you might not comprehend it just the way I said it. Some have argued that how you receive it is not my problem, but I think there's need in how you communicate as well. If you followed closely our governance, electorate versus leaders relationship, there's been that concern about we need genuine conversations, and I've had that for the longest I have been alive. Or let's have an honest conversation. So we see committees sitting down, like NADCO is the recent one, where people are saying to move forward, let's have this conversation. Now you're seeing a broad-based government right after Gen Z's conversation, but there's a section of Kenyans who still say this is betrayal. I'm getting to a point where I'm asking myself, when we talk about genuine conversations as a nation, in order for us to move forward, how do you think, from your lens, this should be handled in a way that every other person in this country, whether you're a politician or you're just in the health sector, is actually put on the table for genuine national conversations that will rebuild the trust in the country?
But yes, it's good to have conversation, but sometimes I don't think conversation is a problem because we already know what we need to do.
Absolutely.
I started by saying everybody knows the right thing. No one can say that we don't know what we need to do. In this discussion, you have already raised a number of things that need to be done even before you had that conversation. So it's a matter of goodwill in implementing. Sometimes consultation, whether it's at organizational level, consultations are good, but sometimes we also use them just as a scapegoat when we don't want to do what we need to do, and then we put committees, task forces, all these kind of manner of things just to pass. Just to pass time. But at the end of the day, actually, even before we set those committees and task forces, and I'm not only talking about at the national level, even at the institutional level, as an organization, most of the time as a CEO, I already know exactly what needs to be done. But because you want to maybe satisfy the staff members and let them be seen as if you are doing something, then you set a committee just to manage their psychology. Which is not the best thing, the best way as an ethical leader to do. So just do the right thing. You know what is the right thing, just do it. And over the years, most of these things have been documented. If I'm the CEO of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, I'm not the first CEO.
Neither will you be the last.
And I'm not the last. There have been others before me. There are documents which have been developed over years. There are recommendations. There are policies. I only need to look through what is required, is already documented, but sometimes we waste a lot of time in boardrooms in the name of consultations and conversations just to escape doing what we ought to do.
Is there a direct connection between not doing the right thing and what I would see as regressive development? That if we don't do the right thing over time, we can't see ourselves actually moving forward, whether on a personal level or at a national level. Is there a connection between the two?
Yes. The truth of the matter is, at a personal level, if I may start from there, it may take time. You may think you are hiding, you are very clever, but it may take time, but one day the truth will find you out and the consequences will be there. So even whether you are a leader, whether you are just a private citizen, whatever you are doing, simple things as bribe, because bribe nowadays have become very simple, is the norm. Whether is that bribe you are giving, whether is the complex issues in our marriages of cheating on our spouses, whether is whatever you are doing, one day you'll be found out and you face the consequences. So even as a nation, as an organization, when you refuse to do the right thing, what you ought to do, put in place the proper governance structures, put in place the proper governance processes and procedures. Ensure that you recruit people based on merit, not based on tribalism and favorism and nepotism. Ensure that all the policies that you have are geared towards promotion of ethical leadership, ethical culture. If you fail to do that, it will still come to bite that organization. And that's why we are seeing today a number of organizations coming down. Some, if it's where we had invested our monies, they have collapsed. That's why we are seeing investors running away. That's why we are seeing some of our organizations, investors don't want to invest because when they look at the governance practices in organization is not right. So yes, the answer is there will always be consequences, and that explains where we are as a region. Yeah.
Do you see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes, there is a light, and it takes collective efforts and your little contribution. The late Wangari Maathai gave a story of a hummingbird who would go and just fetch a drop of water, go drop it in a burning forest. It took the bird many years, but eventually quenched the fire. It may take your little contribution combined with somebody else, and as you do that, there are people who will come and support you. We can change this nation. As an Institute of Certified Secretaries, our mandate is promotion of governance, and among the realizing that we have a responsibility as a responsible corporate citizen to contribute to the ethical leadership and governance of this country. We have come, for instance, with a number of initiatives, whether it's capacity building in regard to governance and ethics across all sectors, whether it's a program we run called Champions of Governance Award, where you go to institutions and assess their governance practices, whether it's of late we are starting a program where we are thinking of how to offer pro bono governance and ethics programs to institutions who are suffering financially but suffering also on governance deficits. So each and every institution, and of course even the talk of this morning, the theme of this morning is also the theme of our annual conference, which will be in April 22nd to 25th in Mombasa on ethical leadership. And that is one of the ways as an institute we are seen of giving back to the society and ensuring that we continue with this conversation towards healing the nation and restoring that trust for purposes of a future society.
I mean, I want to thank you for doing that. I think it's good for us to take what I like to call a pit stop every now and then and review some of these things, and restoring that, morality and that trust is something that's definitely very important. So thank you for being in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning. Jeremiah Karanja is the CEO of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, and he's been our guest this hour as we look at some of these very important issues in terms of morality and trust, good governance and ethical leadership. Thank you for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation this Wednesday morning. We're getting into Thursday. And not to forget, tomorrow we'll be joined by the CS Treasury, John Buddy, and we'll be having an economic outlook. Kenya's economic outlook will be the topic of conversation. So let's get ready for that as we have that conversation, because it's very important for us to look into some of those things. Don't forget to grab a cup of yogurt and let it be Delare with real fruit pieces in it as you take that break from work or study and have a moment as you go through the day with Delare. Thanks for being here this morning. We'll talk again tomorrow, God willing. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Spice up your life